Good morning, everybody. This is RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez, as it is now. Actually, good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Those of you in the other time zones, good morning to you, as we are looking live there at the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, as we monitor the news of the day, as we monitor what's on Truth Social, what's on X, President Trump's Truth Social posts, and a lot of other news to get to, as we know that President Trump at about 10:30 this morning had his intelligence briefing, something he has on a daily basis as the commander-in-chief. That was at 10:30 this morning inside the Oval Office. Other than that, as of this point, if there's any additions to that schedule, we'll bring that live to you here at the network. So I'll be here at the desk for about an hour and a half with you, and then Robert McNeely will join us at about 1:30. As there is a number of topics, a number of news items to talk about, and we will get into that here in just a second. So just want to thank again everybody for joining us. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast on this Thursday, July 10th. All right, so other than President Trump having his intelligence briefing at 10:30 this morning at the Oval Office, the president, we're told, will be in Central Texas tomorrow. So we know that he'll be there for, of course, the situation that happened in Central Texas over the July 4th weekend. We're going to get into some of that, the specifics there, and just some things that we've seen and we've heard, other than just the heartbreaking situation that more than 100 people have lost their lives there. I think the last count was at 119, with still several people missing in Texas. And then on top of that, we're going to see later in the month, President Trump actually on Tuesday will be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the Steel City. As we get more details, we'll share that with you. At the end of the month, the Commander-in-Chief will be in Scotland and the United Kingdom on an international trip. That's July 25th to the 29th. We'll go over that programming schedule, and as we get more details from the White House, we will share that with you. In the meantime, as we continue our broadcast, we have a number of news topics to get to. Let's go right to President Trump's Truth Social. One of his latest posts, speaking about the great Greg Jarrett, he said it's clear Trump was framed. The collusion narrative was a conspiracy itself. The collaborators knew it was a lie, but they manipulated the dossier and the CIA to peddle their fairy tale. Brennan and Comey manipulated the system and the document itself. They abused their power. Comey lodged a case against Trump in violation of FBI regulations. This, according to the president here, he continues on saying he deceived the FISA court with the dossier to gain a spy warrant. John Brennan used that dossier knowing it was garbage, and he insisted it be put in the Intelligence Committee assessment. So he knew it was such a phony document, and that if it could be put in the Intelligence Committee assessment, it will elevate the credibility, and that he could drive Trump from office. The president from just a few hours ago this morning on Truth Social saying, continuing the quote, he told Congress that it wasn't in the assessment. The president says, well, it was. Can he be charged? Yes, he can. They eroded confidence and trust in the American government, particularly the FBI, CIA, and other agencies single-handedly. They set back America considerably. James Comey needs daily therapy. He is so obsessed with his hatred of Trump. It's what drove the Russia hoax. The president continues on with his Truth Social post, of course, a lengthy post, but that's what's great about technology these days. We get to hear directly from the leaders in office, whether President Trump or anyone really in the world when it comes to X and Truth Social. The president continuing saying he, more than anybody else, drove the witch hunt. Of course, talking about James Comey here. And he can never get over the fact that he failed and got fired. And he hates that as well. On his way out the door, he purined the FBI documents and leaked them to the media with the plan that this will trigger the special counsel and drive Trump from office. Bob Mueller was appointed, his longtime mentor and friend, but in the end, his scheme failed. And then the president says, wow, thank you, Greg, amazing reporting. So that from the president of the United States. I know it's very small for you to read there, so you can either listen along as I read it there, or obviously all of us have cell phones, and most of us, most likely, on Truth Social. And if you're not, maybe jump on Truth Social. And usually whenever President Trump posts something on that great site, Truth Social, there's many sites on X, or many accounts on X, that reflect exactly what the president is posting on Truth. We'll get into some more details regarding everything in this 24/7 news cycle in just a bit, including the trip to Texas tomorrow. President Trump will be going to Texas, and we can dive into a subject that a number of people are talking about recently, including myself and others within conservative circles. It's all about the question of weather modification. Some call it weather manipulation. And instead of just sharing my opinion on the matter, I have the receipts and research from the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration and from the Code of Federal Regulations, both government entities within of course, the regulations there of the National Archives and Records Administration. So this is what they confirm, that weather modification is a real thing. And that's the only thing that I'm confirming here on this broadcast. And before we dive into some of this research that you see on the screen there, for the record, I'm not confirming that weather modification or manipulation was used in the recent Wheeling, West Virginia floods. If you remember, that actually happened about 2.5 weeks ago. It was a really bad flash flood there. And we're not saying that there's confirming any connection with Central Texas, New Mexico, and most recently, just last night, if you're really up on the news or if you're in Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, there was some flooding there. But this is definitely simply a question to be asked, as we have freedom of speech and freedom of the press to do so. So as we move on, we're going to look at a few articles here and there about weather modification. Before we do that, let's see, is this just an opinion thing on my end, or is this something that people are saying, hey, there is weather modification? We've seen it with the government entities there. Again, not connecting anything to recent weather events, just to make that for the record. And I'm doing this because I received a question from somebody, a viewer on True Social, asking about, well, what is this weather modification? I'm not really up to date on it. So I'm somewhat up to date on it, so I did further research, and we're going to share some of that research with you here in a second. We have a number of other topics to get to over the next hour and a half, of course, as we monitor any breaking news, live news, any updates in the scheduling with the president, as earlier, again, at 10:30, he received his intelligence briefing. But let's get back to the issue at point here at stake when it comes to the specifics. Here's a post from Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene on Truth Social. She said, "I am introducing a bill that prohibits the injection, release, or dispersion of chemicals or substances into the atmosphere for the express purpose of altering weather, temperature, climate, or sunlight intensity. It will be a felony offense," according to the representative out of Georgia. She says, "I have been researching weather modification and working with the Legislative Council for months writing this bill. It will be similar to Florida's Senate Bill 56. The representative wraps up saying, "We must end the dangerous and deadly practice of weather modification and geoengineering." Also, before we dive into some more specifics from the NOAA, and also the Code of Federal Regulations, both government websites, when it comes to all of this weather modification, before I continue, just some context. I have some 20 years experience covering all sorts of weather events. I always liked working alongside meteorologists to ask them about weather patterns, directions of storms in real time. No, I don't believe in climate change, by the way. I like to use a weather radar app that you guys might have heard here on the network. It's called Radar Scope. It can really pinpoint and really track storms closely. That was me in 2012. That is a beach in New Jersey. That is Superstorm Sandy. And yes, I was one of those reporters out there risking it all. But here's the point. I remember our live truck was up on the boardwalk. And I walked down and I said, well, let's just get close to at least where the foam is, where the waves are coming in. So in the foreground, there's a lot of sand and beach. I wasn't in the middle of water or anything. I wouldn't put my life at risk like that. Some might say that's putting your life at risk. Well, sometimes you want to cover a story and it's a big one, like Superstorm Sandy. So that's as close as I got. Obviously, just did a live report there back in the day out of New Jersey, out of New York. And I'm just giving you this context because I'm not coming at you with this weather modification story segment and just blowing smoke here. I mean, I've not seen flash floods like we've seen recently. I've never seen that in my 20 years experience. We're going to get to some more quotes and some more information just to share with you this story. And I'm going to repeat this a couple times because I'm a guy that's about evidence and facts. I like conspiracy theories, especially if they're true, and a lot do turn out to be true. This specific situation, in no way, no how, and you'll hear from Ted Nugent later, as we did an interview with him yesterday, he said the same thing. He's not confirming that any kind of weather modification is what caused what happened in Central Texas. I mean, it is a tragic event. Was it just Mother Nature that made something like that happen, where so many inches of rain fell in just a very short amount of time? And then it happened in New Mexico, and then in North Carolina, and then the other day in Wheeling, West Virginia. Is this just all Mother Nature just being like, okay, I'm going to stop and rain here for a long time instead of be a storm cell that passes through? Again, I'm not saying confirming either or. I'm just reporting facts based on a question that was brought to me on Truth Social by a viewer saying, just what is this weather modification? So I thought, well, hey, let's dive into it a little bit. I know we do a lot of commentary here. We do a lot of live events, and we're going to share that with you here at the network over the course of the next hour or so. But I just want to give that context that there's no way connecting what happened recently to weather modification. I don't have the evidence. I don't have receipts on that. But it's something that MTG is talking about. It's something that I'll get to more in a second. So let me just continue back to where I'm at. So that is, again, that was in New Jersey, and that was quite wild. So I covered a lot of weather over the years. So let's talk about this. Let's shift now to hard facts when it comes to weather modification. Here's what I found, and you can find it, if you'd like, on the NOAA website and the Code of Federal Regulations government website. Both are government entities. Again, not confirming that any weather modification was used in the recent inclement weather we've been seeing, but again, an RSBN viewer asked me to explain what weather modification is on Truth Social. Right there, this is a government website. NOAA says, what is weather modification? It's any activity performed with the intention of producing artificial changes in the composition, behavior, or dynamics of the atmosphere. See 15 Code of Federal Regulations 908 for what is considered weather modification. What role does NOAA play in weather modification? Companies that intend to engage in weather modification activities within the United States are required by the Weather Modification Act of 1976, Code of Federal Regulations 908, to provide a report to the administrator of NOAA at least 10 days in advance. So when you hear about weather manipulation and weather modification, these aren't just words that we just came up with. This is legit stuff. This happens. When you look at the Code of Federal Regulations on our next slide here, as we continue to bring you live coverage of what's going on out there in the world, we'll get to other topics as well. Trust me, I know there's a lot in the 24/7 news cycle. We'll get there, but this is an interesting story here. And maybe, I don't know if we could just have my audio up and just this page. I'm not sure if we can do that, but I'm going to continue on with the Code of Federal Regulations. So specifically from a 1976 federal regulation, which was amended when I was born back in 1981, states, weather modification apparatus. Any apparatus used with the intention of producing artificial changes in the composition, behavior of dynamics of the atmosphere. For example, this again, a government website right here, the Code for Federal Regulations. For example, seeding generators. Those are those cloud seeding operations that we've heard about, whether it's the private sector or the public sector. Propane devices, flares, rockets, artillery projectiles, jet engines, etc. So we see all of this information that are on government websites. We know that weather modification is real. So now we know, okay, that's real. From here, we would have to have evidence or any other information that is factual to bridge the gap between what's been happening in recent past. And again, if you remember, if you just look it up, you look at Wheeling, West Virginia, not talked about very much. We brought it up here at the network pretty recently because there was major flooding, a flash flood, and we've heard about these flash flood warnings and watches. Again, that radar scope app, I was looking yesterday, there were 20 flash flood warnings across the country. In North Carolina, if you look up Raleigh-Durham, there was a flash flood there, obviously in Central Texas. And I'm diving into this because the situation of more than 100 people dying because of these floods. If it's Mother Nature and that's all, obviously terrible. Regardless of what it is, terrible, heartfelt, horrible situation. That's why President Trump is heading to Central Texas tomorrow. But to look into some specifics as to, are there other possibilities? And that's all I'm looking at. Again, I'm not confirming anything when it comes to the connection because I don't have evidence for it, and I won't do that. But I will look into this specific information about weather modification, again, because a viewer who we indirectly serve you, the American people. So if you ask me, which you did on Truth, and if you want to follow my Truth Social and check it out, it's at Matthew Alvarez. You can see the person ask me the question about weather modification. I thought, well, this is a great topic to bring up on the heels of the fact that President Trump will be in Texas tomorrow. And also MTG's posts about whether it's manipulation or modification and introducing a new bill to it. Also, I thought, well, wouldn't it be great to get a meteorologist on the line and talk about this? Unfortunately, RSBN host Christina Loren, she'll be joining us tomorrow. Maybe she'll talk about it, but she did text me the following, so I'm going to read you a quote. She said earlier today about all of what I'm talking about. She was, first of all, a meteorologist in the mainstream media, and in a message she said to me, quote, "You are correct that weather modification is real and it cannot be denied. Cloud seeding is the most widely recognized practice, particularly in other countries like China and Russia. We also do it here, but it is not openly discussed." Okay, so we see that this is a real thing. And I would say this. Again, there's no confirmation on a connection between what's been happening out there. But we know that there are, for a fact, in general, again, 30,000-foot view, that there are corrupt people out there. If there wasn't corruption, we would have won the freaking 2020 election. You know what I mean? Also, we know from the left side of the aisle, indirectly, that they have done over the years things that are just not on the right side of history. Listen, there's a lot I can get into, but my point is this. I'm not confirming anything on a connection there. I'm just going to keep reiterating it because you have to with these kind of stories. They're delicate stories, and I'm just tiptoeing around with it because you have to. Let's shift over to hurricanes. And this is somewhat wrapping up this weather segment that I just wanted to bring to your attention because, again, somebody asked me about it, and I really, really like weather, to be honest with you. I worked all those years in local news and always, whenever it was weather coverage and we're sitting around a desk at the conference table and it's a 9 o'clock morning meeting, we'd call them, and we'd figure out what the news of the day is. If we knew that there was flooding, if we knew that there was storm damage, if we knew that a tornado hit an area, if we knew that a hurricane or a tropical storm was on the way, if we knew that a blizzard or a 7 to 12 foot inch snowstorm in the Northeast was happening, I'd be the guy because I liked it. I don't know. I like going out there and being in that moment of that breaking news to share with the people, hey, well, this is what's going on here. This is a road you don't want to go on. This is an area that's damaged, and on. Okay? So I like that coverage just to help. And it's been very difficult to cover many of these weather stories because you'd have these people that would lose their house or a tree crashed right into their living room and they somehow survived. And I remember covering Superstorm Sandy for a year after covering it in New York and New Jersey. Again, that photo, if we could bring it up, I was on the actual beach there. For that whole New Jersey coastline, there was a lot of damage. A lot of damage, as you guys remember, if you remember that in 2012. And I remember a grown man with his wife next to him on an interview crying, and then I had to hug the guy on TV. You know what I mean? Like, it was real stuff. So when you look at Central Texas, you say, okay, I've never seen flash floods like this, as many as they've been happening. Wheeling, West Virginia, New Mexico, Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina last night. And then you see MTG talking about, hey, you know what? We need to stop any of the weather modification stuff. She wasn't connecting the dots saying, hey, it's confirmed that this happened. We're basically bringing truth of that there is weather modification, both in the private and public sector. We see the results of, whether it's modification or not, Mother Nature and what's going on. I'm not connecting those. I'm bringing them close, but I'm not connecting them because I don't do that without evidence or facts. You need to have the receipts to get that there. I had the receipts on weather modification. If you're just joining us, you can scrub back. And of course, we're going to be talking about a number of other things here in a minute. We have a number of sponsors to get to, but I'm almost done with this part here. This is important to me because this was interesting. Check this out. According to NOAA, on their government website, and nothing against NOAA, by the way, I've worked with people within the National Weather Service. How did I find out about the Radar Scope app that I share with people online and here? Because I really want to help with that, because for my family, if I see that there's a tornado warning on the way, I want to have the best app, and Radar Scope is the best app. I'm not paid by them, but I don't care about that. I care about the safety aspect. National Weather Service, on their personal phones, they have Radar Scope on their phones. All right. And then I did some research because I'm a weather nerd sometimes. Obviously, you see me as a political nerd here and a news guy and all that stuff. But a Boston Red Sox, the actual groundskeeper, has Radar Scope on his phone. So it is a great, great site where you're able to, with the app, monitor where tornado warnings are, all this stuff. You got the red boxes, the yellow boxes. You can see the direction of it. You can see when a tornado icon's actually touched on down on the ground. All right. So let's get back to NOAA. We're going to be wrapping this up in a second. If you missed any of what I'm talking about, please, for context purposes, please just scrub back on it, and we'll get back to some more news that we're following. And again, what does this have to do with the White House? Well, MTG, of course, talking about weather modification. What does this have to do with the White House? President Trump going to Central Texas tomorrow in regards to what happened with the floods. So that's the context of why I brought it today. And on top of that, just hearing from a viewer on Truth Social asking about weather modification. So I thought, hey, I'd look into it, and now we're reporting it here. All right, so last thing about NOAA. Decades ago, between 1962 and 1982, NOAA provided support for research into whether hurricane intensity could be modified, known as Project Storm Fury. The research was not successful, according to NOAA, in modifying hurricanes, and Storm Fury was discontinued. NOAA has not attempted to modify hurricane intensity and participate in cloud seeding since that date, according to NOAA's website. So to wrap it up, again, I'm not confirming that weather modification is what caused the recent events throughout our country when it comes to flash floods. However, the amount of record-breaking rainfall that fell on July 4th definitely has people talking. And again, a side note, climate change is a major hoax. It's simply another way to attempt to tax and control the population. So in conclusion, for the record, I don't have the receipts with irrefutable evidence that Central Texas was purposely flooded because of weather modification. I only go with the facts. Are there theories from a number of people that it's connected? Sure, but until we have actual evidence, that is only a theory specifically there. I'm simply reporting that weather modification is real, and you don't have to look far to confirm that. NOAA and the Code of Federal Regulations confirms its existence, as do a number of private sector companies that provide, quote unquote, cloud seeding for various reasons. If you'd like a little bit more context and some of those slides and pictures and all that, please check out a few of my recent weather-related posts at Matthew Alvarez on Truth Social. 12/23, Thursday, July 10th. Let's move now to the southern border. Before we do, let's go to All Family Pharmacy. Breaking news from RSBN when it comes to All Family Pharmacy, known for standing up for medical freedom, just launched their biggest sale of the year. So now through July 13th, so 3 days from now, it's buy one, get one free on ivermectin, mebendazole, hydroxychloroquine, all within that 200 milligram amount there. So that means whatever you order, they'll double it. 30 capsules becomes 60, 90 becomes 180, no insurance, no red tape, doctor's prescription included. And so while big chains, they say, you know what, they try and shut you out, All Family Pharmacy, they're the guys that step up for you, giving patriots just like you the power to choose the kinds of prescriptions that you want. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can protect your health. The buy one, get one free ends July 13th. Let's also go to Colonial Metals Group. freegoldguy.com/RSBN is the website there at 1224 right now. Protect your IRA or 401k with gold, all 100% tax-free. You can use that QR code as well. So freegoldguy.com/RSBN, a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, as it's 12:24 looking live there at the White House, the only thing on President Trump's public schedule today was a closed press situation, which is a daily occurrence when it comes to an intelligence briefing that the Commander-in-Chief received in the Oval Office at 10:30 this morning. In a little bit, if you haven't seen our interview with Ted Nugent, the great rock star, We're going to replay that for you. He talked about all sorts of things, and it's a great interview. It's just fun to hear from Ted Nugent. Also yesterday, if you're looking to hear more about the cabinet meeting from Tuesday or just President Trump's trip to Central Texas tomorrow, you can watch all that coverage yesterday. Some great interviews here. And looking forward to, in about an hour from now, Robert McNeely will be in studio as well, just covering the news of the day up until about 3 o'clock. If there's any breaking news, we'll shift gears toward that. If you just missed it, for the past 20 minutes or so, we talked about weather modification. If you'd like to scrub back and check it out, please feel free to do that. Let's switch now to the southern border and the ICE mass deportation operation. This post was from Carolyn Leavitt this morning, the White House press secretary, simply saying, "The men and women of ICE are heroes. I stand with ICE." Isn't it true? We know that President Trump said it was a national emergency on the southern border, that the border needed to be sealed. So we saw that happen with the military along with Customs Border Protection, the waterway, the open sea, the Coast Guard, the Navy, the Customs Border Protection officers, everybody working together to make sure that that southern border is sealed, to make sure the northern border is sealed, to protect the homeland. Then the next step is to have the mass deportation operation, to have people that are criminal, illegal aliens and people that are here illegally, according to ICE right there, they're just doing their job. It's part of the law. I mean, we can't, if all of us that are watching right now traveled to another country, we'd have to have a passport or a visa or some reason. They're not just going to let us in. They'll be like, who the heck are you? And what are you doing here? Because this is our land. Like, what? You're allowed. You have a passport and a visa? Come on in, spend some money. Same thing for us in this country. You have a passport and a visa? Come on in, spend some money. You want to become a legal immigrant? Come on in. Let's see if it will work out, that you'll be selected and how the process works to become a naturalized citizen and on. We love all that stuff. It helps our, it's good. It's all good. My grandpa is from Cuba. I've said that a few times. Thank God that he was, came here and became a citizen and all that. Like, it's all good. So anyway, let's go to the southern border, though. The Department of Defense with Pete Hegseth, of course. They put out a lot of videos. And this video here is more of a raw video. You're not going to hear a lot of commentary over it. You're not going to hear a lot of sound bites. But let's just kind of see what it's like there on the southern border. And this is within the month there, as the military is there. You're going to see some Army strikers and other things as we continue to follow the news of the 24/7 news cycle. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks for sticking with us. There's a lot going on, we know. But let's take a look at that video. All right, that is from the DoD. We're looking at some video from not too long ago of a volcano in, I believe that's Kailua, Hawaii. So this was happening. Do you guys know what time? Oh, it's a live picture. Okay, so we're looking at a live picture out there as we see some of the smoke there in Hawaii right now. So that's a live picture as we see a lot of feeds anywhere from Washington, D.C. in the corner down there to Hawaii and then here in Alabama. So thanks for staying with us as we monitor various news stories here at this conservative news network. It's great to be a part of the right side of history, and we're going to go to an interview that you may not have seen. Ted Nugent, the great rock star, talked about a lot of different news topics. And of course, there's a lot going on right now within MAGA and 24/7 News, and President Trump traveling to Central Texas tomorrow. So we'll go to that interview in just a minute as we're taking that live look there in Hawaii. I have literally no information other than a live picture, so I'll have to look at it here on X. And I might as well do that here on the fly and see if we can get some information on when this happened. Okay, I received a message, I'm told, so I'll go to that as we are looking live right now. This is from the USGS camera as lava is erupting at the Kailua volcano. Eruptive activity is currently confined to a Halemaumau crater. USGS says lava fountains have reached over 100 feet this morning for the 28th eruption episode since December 2024. This is live looking at the west crater there. So interesting stuff going on there in Hawaii right now as we're monitoring all sorts of news at this point. All right, so 12:31, bottom of the hour. We have about a bit of time yet to spend together as we are monitoring all sorts of things, whether it's national, international news, but also we want to tell you about a few sponsors before we move to our next segment here. Callsheet.com/RSBN. Of course, you can bet and trade on all sorts of things, including weather, sports, technology, politics, religion, all sorts of stuff. So you can go to callsheet.com/RSBN. Also, you can go to and use the app as well. So two spots to go, the web or the app. Indirectly the same kind of thing, but it's kind of cool to have two options there. Callsheet.com/RSBN. Angel Paste as well, Spring, Texas. So you can get a discount on a number of products there, including that Miracle Cream you see on your screen. Use the RSBN promo code. You'll get a percentage off, not only from the Miracle Cream, but all these other products that are on that website. So it's great to have them as a sponsor here out of Spring, Texas. Speaking of Texas, we know President Trump will be there tomorrow. We'll have live coverage from Central Texas. Also, at this point, we don't have the specific time frame on when the president will be boots on the ground there in Texas. We will get that later tonight, and you can monitor all the latest right here on Right Side tomorrow as we continue our live coverage from Washington, D.C. and all across the country, in some cases all the way out there to Hawaii. My wife and I actually were in Montgomery recently, and the capital, of course, of Alabama, beautiful Capitol building there, Tommy Tuberville running for office. And they have all of the state's flags there. And we walked by the Hawaiian flag, and the one that was there in Alabama, the flag for Hawaii still has that British symbol in there as well. So the Union Jack part of it. And we were wondering, wait, had to double check. Wait, okay, that's Hawaii. So it was pretty cool to see that. But there, looking at Hawaii live right now. Never been out there. I don't know if you guys have. I know my wife's been out there. It'd be cool to take a trip. All right, so 12:33. Let's do this. Let's go to a Throwback Thursday segment as it's the bottom of the hour. We're going to get into some more news in just a minute. But this is interesting because in 3 days, it will be J13, the 1 year since the situation there in Butler, Pennsylvania. So what I thought we can do is a week after President Trump survived the attempt on his life, I'm being told that we can just hold on the Throwback Thursday video, so I'll stand by for that. But we go outside the arena in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where there was going to be another rally. And this was just a week after J13, so we know what that was like. I remember covering it right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, right? We were here. And you were watching, and it was just, just a few minutes into that speech when we heard what we heard and saw what we saw. And then we realized, oh man, this is something really serious. So we went on into breaking news mode. And I remember having all these various people join us live, whether on on the network on camera or over the phone. But we know that within that week, there was a Grand Rapids, Michigan rally still planned a week later. And President Trump showed up, and he had the patch on his ear, the bandage. And I was thinking, well, are the people going to show up? Because, I mean, that was kind of scary what happened. Are they just going to show up? I had that thought. I also had another thought. This is MAGA, and we love President Trump, and we love the United States of America. And yes, right now, we know that the cabinet meeting went the way it did the other day, and people are talking on both sides of that issue. We'll get into some of that with Ted Nugent in a second. We're not ignorant to what's going on out there. Trust me, we know all the different things of what people are saying. But the point is that thousands and thousands and thousands of people showed up a week later in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Now, this video I'm about to show you is a Throwback Thursday video, which is part of our fun segment here at the bottom of the hour. But the fact of it is, how about this? How about I just shut up and you just watch the video? Take a look. What else do you need to see or say when it comes to that? I remember the live coverage and walking up to everyone. You know how we do it, right side. We go and talk to everybody. We love people. That's part of what we do. It's We the People Network, right? So we go out there and everybody was in good spirits. They were so happy. You know, they were saying, I can't wait to see the president. This was a week after J13, which is the year since then, is coming up in 3 days. So I just remember that, wanted to bring that to your attention. Also, then from inside, I don't have a video from that. I just wanted to show you the outside. But I remember the roar of the crowd, every seat filled in that Grand Rapids, Michigan arena. And a shout out to you guys in Grand Rapids, beautiful city, beautiful arena. That was my first time in Grand Rapids. But yeah, so the place was packed and it was loud. It roared like a jet engine. So quite the time there for a Throwback Thursday right now as we are approaching that 3 days until that J13 incident in Butler, Pennsylvania. Of course, the great hero himself, Corey Compitore, in heaven. And we always will remember him because he went through something to protect his family. But we know that we'll see him again. All right, so 12:37, Thursday, July 10th. All right, let's shift some gears here. Let's go to just yesterday, if you caught it, the great Ted Nugent joined us right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. So why don't we do this? Why don't we go to that interview? When I come back, we'll look at the latest news that we're seeing out there as we monitor coverage. Again, the president's schedule right now is as follows. He had a 10:30 briefing this morning when it comes to an intelligence briefing, closed press, not something that we're going to be in on. And then if there's anything added to that public schedule, we'll bring it to you. Also, the president will be traveling to Central Texas tomorrow. We'll have that live coverage for you. We also know, specifically, if we're going to go over the program rundown real quick, thanks to Grace Aldana, our COO here at Right Side, we know some more information about where President Trump will be coming up here soon. On Tuesday, President Trump will be in Pittsburgh, so that will be July 15th. I don't have any details yet on what that specifically is for. Maybe he's going to speak at an event, who knows? But we will let you know as soon as we do. And then at the end of the month, July 25th to the 29th, the Commander-in-Chief will be in Scotland and the United Kingdom for an international trip. That's at the end of the month. We'll have coverage of that as well, right here as we cover it live. And I'm hearing that the UK trip is actually in August. So the UK is in August from the 17th to the 19th, and the Scotland trip is in July. So still stuff coming up here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so it's 12:39, Thursday, July 10th. If you missed our interview with Ted Nugent, the rock star himself, you might want to buckle up your seatbelts because here we go. Let's get the engine started and let's rock and roll.
Charlie Daniels. I was trucking up the highway, minding my own lane, with some dude in a Prius wouldn't flip me off. Guess my redneck hit him wrong. Seems like everyone these days is a ticking time bomb full of hate for folks like me who don't agree and ain't ever gonna change. And it gets me thinking, leave this long-haired country boy alone. And I start singing along to that line in the song, Sweet Home Alabama. I hope Neil Young will remember. A southern man don't need him around anyhow. Yeah, I'm one of them, don't give a damn, live off the land, Ted Nugent fan, hair to my shoulder, country all over. Daddy was a soldier, so if you find yourself way out here where the back roads wind to me and mine, why don't you stop by, meet the wife, grab a beer, Lord knows you're gonna hear. Leave this long-haired country boy alone. And I start singing along to that line in the song, Sweet Home Alabama. I hope Neil Young will remember. A southern man don't need him around anyhow. Take it, Ted. Leaving this long-haired country boy alone. And I start singing along to the line in the song, Sweet Home Alabama. I hope Neil Young will remember. A southern man don't need him around anyhow.
Joining us now is rock star Ted Nugent. Ted, thanks so much for joining us. That video is pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, it's a great song about a great man, and greetings to you, Matthew, and everybody. You have a right side broadcasting. Boy, do you deserve me. Welcome from the Nugent family man cave, cuckoo's nest, arsenal of democracy. We had a bumper crop of middle fingers this year, so I do what Charlie Daniels would do every day.
That is awesome. It's wonderful to see that. I mean, I remember going to Nashville hockey games, and the Charlie Daniels band years ago would be playing between the intermissions. What a great artist he was. And your thoughts about just being part of this new song?
Well, Ira Dean is a soul brother, a funk brother, a blood brother. He's a hunter, an outdoorsman, a conservation, a constitutionalist, a conservative. Wow, the big 3 C's. That describes Charlie Daniels. I got to meet Charlie when I was part of his wonderful charity, the Volunteer Jam. And the integrity, the honesty, the cockiness, the attitude, the spirit, the piss and the vinegar, and the dedication to the American dream of being the best that you can be, and to stand up in this new curse that was developing called political correctness that turned into the toxicity of the cancel culture. Charlie Daniels was the tip of the spear for good over evil before there was a Donald Trump. I'd like to think, quite honestly, Matthew, that the reason we're paying tribute to the great Charlie Daniels in this wonderful song, Ira Dean really created a masterpiece, and I was proud to be a part of it along with my gas-guzzling Ford Bronco. Anyhow, Charlie Daniels represented that outdoorsman, that rugged individual, that warrior for constitutionality before we thought we had to fight for the Constitution, before the Obama invasion, before the political correct numbnut celebration. So Charlie Daniels was an inspiration to stand strong, and there's a great story where he wrestled with a post hole digger. And he even overcame that moment. So he was a good friend. He was a blood brother, a soul brother, and musically, he qualified as a funk brother. What a great band, what great music, what great integrity, what great dedication and virtuosity in the music world.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember also, you know, again, when I hear his songs, I mean, it's just that country sound, but also a little bit of the rock sound as well. Speaking of that, sir, you know, what was that like for you to play the national anthem, you know, in front of the world to see before President Trump's various rallies out there? Just a jam on that guitar, man.
Well, you know, I was raised in Detroit. I was born in 1948. I'm an old man. I know you respect your elders. But my dad raised me with the U.S. Army drill sergeant cavalry guiding light to demand the best from the Nugent family. And that was the standard operating procedure when I was born, Matthew. I mean, the pride of ownership, the pride of productivity, the concept of taking someone else's earnings or thinking that you had a right to someone else's productivity was literally non-existent back then. Everybody was coming out of this celebration of good over evil in World War II. And when I get to play the national anthem for what I am convinced, and people of conscience and goodwill and decency are convinced that Donald Trump is the best commander-in-chief we have ever had in the most demanding and challenging of times. And that's why the song, What Would Charlie Daniels Do? When I play the national anthem in front of those great patriots every night, and I do it, we're doing the Wisconsin State Fair this month, we're doing a bunch of runs here in Michigan at the end of August, and I play the national anthem every night. And nobody's feet touch the ground. I'm inspired like I was when I was 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. There's goosebumps on my goosebumps. So when Ira Dean called me to put that Detroit guitar on this wonderful song about Charlie Daniels' legacy and influence, I jumped at the opportunity. And by the way, you said Charlie had a little bit of rock and roll. Oh no, he had a whole lot of rock and roll. He had a blues rock and roll band. And that's what Ira Dean did to this tribute to Charlie. It's got a soulful redneck. By the way, we're upgrading the term redneck to Tedneck. It has a real down-to-earth ranching, farming, hunting, fishing, trapping, drive to be the best that you can be, energy to it. So it's country, but it's also folky. Could be played around a campfire. It's sincere, it's honest, and it's inspired by the great Charlie Daniels.
And it's awesome. The video, if you're just joining us right now, the great Ted Nugent, rock star right here, joining us live. You can watch that video once again if you want to hit pause and scrub back as we await the presidential coverage a little bit later in the broadcast. But Ted, what drives you to keep doing what you're doing? You're out there. I've seen your show, and you're just, man, you tell it like it is, Ted, and that's what I love about you, sir.
Well, thank you. I was raised to be honest. I was raised to, let's simplify it after 77 years. Back when I was in my 20s, I was attacked because I carried a gun and I ate venison. And I mean, when the hippies would attack me for doing two perfect things, I mean, self-defense is perfect. The Second Amendment is perfect. Venison, conservation, bow hunting, challenge, higher level of the spirit of the wild awareness. They would attack me for doing perfect stuff while they were drooling and throwing up and stumbling and dying, getting high and drunk. So I've been so fortunate that I made the right decisions because my mom and dad forced me to make the right decision. Now, I could have been a rebel. I probably should have gone into heroin by the time I was 18. But instead, I saw that the drugs and alcohol were destroying the musicians around me. And the Amboy Dukes made such superior, adventurous, eclectic music of every imaginable scope and genre that I'm surrounded by the best musicians. Ira Dean is a perfect example. His band is absolutely soul brothers. And I was born in Detroit, land of the Funk Brothers and the Motown Orchestra and Mitch Ryden of the Detroit Wheels and all the greatest artists that ever lived, I might add, that inspired the British invasion. So I'm lucky that I've been clean and sober for 77 years. So I'm a bit uppity. You may have noticed that I'm a bit uppity, and I won't take any crap. And when bureaucrats try to force crap upon me, I push back and I absolutely stop them in their tracks. Now, I'm overwhelmed in all 50 states right now, but I'm going to overwhelm them because I believe in America. It's an American dream that you can pursue your hopes and dreams uninhibited with freedom that is outlined in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, Ten Commandments, Golden Rule, and I'm not backing down. And that's why Ira Dean and I deserve each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be great. Ira's going to join us right after our interview with you, sir. Thanks for spending the time with us. So tell us a little bit about, and by the way, Ted, there's a million directions I can go with you right now. There's a lot of news going on. Why don't we do this? Let's go 30,000 foot view. And if we're flying on an airplane and you want to do a skydive right now into whatever news topic you want to do, what do you think about what's going on out there in this 24/7 news cycle? We've got yesterday's cabinet meeting. You have the floods in Texas and New Mexico. There's just a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. I think I can overview it thusly that everyone of conscience and heart and soul and empathy is praying for our friends in the hill country of Texas. Now, those are my people. I hunt with those people. I know those people. I know the people who survived, and I know the people that didn't survive. So gonzo prayers from the Nugent family and every conscientious, loving American. That's number one. But not just for the victims and the heartbreak, but to make sure that we don't let it happen again. I'm a Texan. I'm speaking from the sacred swamps of Michigan right now, Matthew. But I'm an American before I'm a Michiganiac or a Texan. And we've got to right the wrongs that we see so rampant. And I'll give you an overview of the great Donald Trump, and he is a great man. He's the best president ever. But when he works for me. I love him, but he works for me. We voted for him for his conservative, conservation, constitutional battle cries. And when he said, why are people still worried about the Jeffrey Epstein situation? My great president, you made a terrible mistake when you said that. We're never going to forget atrocities. We want the answers. We want the answers on all of these deep state atrocities. We will never forget until somebody is held accountable. And right now it breaks my heart because I don't think anybody's being held accountable except the invaders, but not the people who orchestrated the invasion. So that's my overview. And again, I maintain unlimited positive attitude and energy and spirit, but that's because I fight against the negative situations in this country. So people, here's one for you, Matthew, hunternation.org. If people would join me at hunternation.org, it's a nonprofit volunteer 501c3 where we get conservatives to vote, because it's not the communists and the liberals and the Democrats that ruined everything. It's the apathy by a huge army of conservative voters that haven't engaged. Now, we did in November of 24, but we have to do it all the time.
100%. Ted Nugent, last question for you. What's your advice to the American people moving forward, and also to the government that, again, we are the ones that hired the government, right? Even though it's a government of, by, and for the people. When it comes to justice being served for our next election that's coming up, of course, it's the midterms. Then we're looking at 28, 29. We want our country to be saved. We want it to be for long term, not just for the 4 great years of President Trump, but more, right?
You know, Matthew, it's so simple, even guitar players can figure it out. I think I can summarize it by saying that I just took a solemn oath to the U.S. Constitution and the Michigan Constitution as my 40th year as a sheriff deputy here in the state of Michigan. I've conducted raids with the heroes of the U.S. Marshal Service, the Texas Rangers, at a time when the FBI was actually a law enforcement agency. And Kash Patel is bringing it back into that sacred oath-keeping mantra. But it's up to we the people. I would demand every elected employee, notice I didn't say official, every elected employee, I'm the electing official. I'm just a guitar player, but I'm the boss. I'm a we the people boss. I'm experimenting in self-government, and I demand that my elected employees reread their oath to the Constitution and start living up to it. That's why we're in this toilet flush, because the Democrat Party has abandoned their oath to the U.S. Constitution in every instance, whether they support the perversion of drag queen story hour, where these perverted fat men in pantyhose are singing "It Won't Lick Itself" to children, Matthew. When I say stuff like that, people go, "Oh, that's radical." Well, it's not as radical as the existence of that perversion. It's up to we the people to spotlight the cockroaches. But you don't just spotlight cockroaches, you stomp them and you get rid of them. And that's what we have to do with these oath violators. And anybody that's not engaged, any American that says, "I'm not into politics," then move to France, where you're not allowed to have an experiment. Move to Cuba, where you're not allowed to be we the people. Every American has a moral, spiritual, and intellectual obligation, a duty, a responsibility to engage in this experiment in self-government and vote the foundational values: God, family, country, Constitution, Bill of Rights, Ten Commandments, Golden Rule, Declaration of Independence, law and order, good over evil, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, all our God-given individual rights as guaranteed by those sacred documents. Duh! Anybody want to debate me on that? Call 1-800-NUMBNUT, and I'll get Michael Moore to tell you what needs personal hygiene.
You know, Ted, what you just said there in the past 20 seconds is the same thing that I've said on this broadcast for, I've worked at Right Side since 2022. It's the common sense stuff, isn't it, Ted Nugent?
You know, if you follow me around, I mean, I've been checking my traps here in the sacred Michigan swamps. I'm balancing nature. I'm a biodiversity czar. I've hunted squirrels with my dogs this morning. I'm training my dogs. I sighted in my new machine gun. Have you sighted in your new machine gun lately? So I live the ultimate rugged individual, self-sufficient, constitutionally demanding we the people American dream. And people call me a radical and extremist, and I say, you noticed, did you? The experiment in self-government is the most radical thing ever attempted and succeeded at in the history of the human experience. How dare we not stick to those quality of life values that created the ultimate quality of life? Now, do we have problems? We only have problems because people, they backed away from their responsibilities. And so I'm going to say it again, Matthew, hunternation.org. We get a hold of these licensed hunters and landowners and private property, working hard, playing hard entrepreneurs that haven't voted. And we prod them, beseech, cajole, scold. We get the conservative army to vote. That's what happened in November. I'm telling you, hunternation.org. Join us. We're a force to reckon with for real America, and that's the missing link.
Ted, do you have 4 more hours left in your schedule today that we can just keep going?
Well, thank you for that. By the way, Matthew, I'm not speaking on behalf of my hunches or guesswork. I don't have any opinions about freedom. I just know that it is perfect if you fight for it. The song, What Would Charlie Daniels Do? He was fighting for it before we even knew you had to. No American could ever think that our government would turn on us with chemtrails and poison foods and FDA and USDA and WHO and CDC, literally chemical warfare against the citizens of America. And if people think that that's an outrageous, thought, it's irrefutable. So I'm a hellraiser. Take a good look at this old guitar player. I am exactly what the founding fathers wanted every American to be: suspicious of all authority, demand constitutional accountability from every elected employee, school board, dog catchers, senator, congressman, chief of police, state trooper, commander, sheriff. They work for us, and so far they're ignoring our direction that can be found in the constitutional oath. And so when I speak, I'm speaking for the shit kickers and the hell raisers that I met this morning at the hardware store, that I'm going to meet today at the grain mill. I'm going to have some sushi, and people come up to me in Ann Arbor, the home of the hash bash. And even in Ann Arbor, they come up and they say, God, Nugent, thank you for standing up. I was at your concert in 1965, and you were saying these things back then. So I'm unstoppable. Anybody wants to mess with me, bring it.
I'm with you 100,000,000%. Ted Nugent, everybody, rock star, and on the right side of history. I have to ask. I know this is a tougher question in the sense of the loss of life in Texas. Before I let you go here, weather modification, weather manipulation. Do you think that's what happened in Texas and New Mexico?
Yeah, you think? You think it's been on the record. Our government has promoted and celebrated and bragged about it. And I suppose in some instances, rightly so, because drought has devastated agriculture in many regions over history. So if we can mitigate drought and bring rain, they should do it in California where they need desperate water upgrade. But it's being abused. People will look in the sky and go, well, those aren't chemtrails, except that the airplane turned it off right there. If it was a natural event coming out of a jet, they can't turn it off. I'm telling you, the conspiracy theories are not theories. There is weather manipulation, and I am not going to conclusively state that it happened in Texas in this event. But all indicators, all evidence point that way. And right now, I am virtually not trusting. I don't trust any government agency. Every alphabet soup bureaucracy is corrupt. I mean, the game departments, what Texas Parks and Wildlife is doing, the DNR and all these Midwestern states, they're jackbooted thugs that are out against the people who pay their salaries based on basic science and biology of habitat and population dynamics of wildlife to keep in the asset column. We've got an enemy in the United States of America government, and we've got to fight back because the answers are so simple. Accountability, honesty, and when it comes to wildlife and the environment, stick to the science. Dr. Fauci should be swinging from a rope from an oak tree right now. He's a genocidal maniac. And anybody that supported him with the fake attack by the communist Chinese. The communist Chinese don't let a weapon out by mistake. It didn't escape. They did that on purpose. They're going to do it again on purpose. If you wear a mask, bah, it's unbelievable how stupid and weak and gullible and blindly obedient Americans have become. So once again, we're celebrating the song, What Would Charlie Daniels Do? This is what Charlie Daniels would do. I'm doing this for people like Charlie Daniels and Chesty Puller and the heroes that fought and died and came home in flag-draped coffins so that I can celebrate and demand the freedoms that they died for. Anybody want to debate me on that? You know, by the way, Matthews, nobody debates me. They're scared of me because I have all truth, logic, common sense, and unlimited evidence to support every word out of my mouth. They got nothing but lies and hate. And just look at the lies and hate they level against me. I couldn't be more proud that the unclean punks of the world lie about Ted Nugent because I've got them scared. I'm Schindler, and my Jew list is too much for the Nazis.
Ted Nugent, ladies and gentlemen, the prosecutions for those that broke the law is what I think exactly what you're talking about as well, in order to save our country long term and to keep our freedoms locked in this country for all time. Sir, you are a great patriot. Thank you so much for spending the time with us, Ted. Look forward to watching more of your show and look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you very much. For our Spirit of the Wild TV show on the Pursuit Channel 8 times a week is a riot. Shemaine and I have Real America Voice podcast. I'm a hellraiser. I'm what all Americans should be.
We are on the right side of history with you, Ted. Thanks so much, sir.
Thanks, Matthew.
Before we toss that interview, I said to buckle your seatbelts, and I meant it, of course. Ted Nugent joining us just yesterday. If you'd like to see the Ira Dean interview and the T.S. Dixon interview, the conservative analyst and author, talking about all sorts of news topics out there. Those are posted wherever you'd like to watch RSBN from social platforms. So great to have Ted on, great to have T.S. yesterday, and also Ira Dean. As it's now 1:03 Eastern time, we have some breaking news we're going to get to in just a second, reported by the New York Post. But before we do, let's go to one of our great sponsors, Tax Network USA. 800-357-1415 is the number. tnusa.com/RSBN is the website, all about settling back taxes. So if you're looking for peace of mind when it comes to finances, especially when it comes to taxes, you can call this group. They'll help you out. Great Patriots right there at Tax Network USA. Speaking of great Patriots, Mike Lindell, mypillow.com/RSBN. More than 2,000 products for you to look and peruse, as they say. You can check it out, mypillow.com/RSBN. Free shipping right now. Use that RSBN promo code. Great Patriot there, Mike Lindell. All right, so it's 1:03 Eastern time. Some of the news we're following as you're looking live at a picture from a volcano, a little bit of the smoke, of course, in Hawaii right now. So that's happening. We monitor all sorts of news, of course, here at the network. And if you missed any, again, of our interviews recently, just from yesterday, they're definitely really good interviews for the 24/7 news cycle as well. So you can check that out online. Also, weather modification. We heard that Ted was talking about that. We hear that other people, conservative voices and others, are talking about it. If you missed the monologue that I had at 12 o'clock Eastern, it was all about weather modification. And it's something that someone asked me on Truth Social about. They said, tell me more about this. What is this about? So instead of just telling that person on Truth, which I did, and you can check it out if you'd like, I decided today at 12 o'clock to share that with you. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, please just go ahead and scroll back at the end of the broadcast at 12 o'clock. So in just about 25 minutes from now, Robert McNeely will be in studio, of course, covering the news of the day and possibly with any interviews as well, as we continue to see President Trump's public schedule for today, which is simply at 10:30. He had an intelligence briefing closed to the press. We know he'll be in Texas tomorrow, and we know he has some international travel coming up towards the end of the month and into August. Also on Tuesday, he'll be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so we'll have all of that covered. And of course, any commentary and any news that we see break, including 3 hours ago from the New York Post, Prince Andrew, he's free to travel abroad as the FBI ends probe into Royals Jeffrey Epstein links. So that's some stories we're following as well. Speaking of all of that, on February 11th of this year, again, stating facts that we saw here at the network and we see happening and just bringing it to your attention, the Florida Representative Ana Paulina Luna, she announced that there was the Federal Secrets Declassification Task Force. She said it will declassify government secrets about JFK, RFK, and the MLK assassinations. We saw some of that paperwork come through and some of the details there. She also mentioned on February 11th the Epstein files. We know that now on Tuesday we heard from the president and we heard from the lead of the DOJ, Pam Bondi, on that. Obviously, we are all seeing different angles and stories to that. We'll see how that all transpires, monitoring what's going on there with that. Of course, we can dive in more on it. If you want to see some more specifics on that, watch the T.S. Dixon interview from just yesterday. He really breaks down some specifics on maybe some course correction, that kind of thing. Also, documents about UFOs, the 9/11 files, and COVID files, and we'll continue to monitor the latest. Now, I will say, because, again, being on the truth train that we are here at this network, and of course we've always been with the Trump train, because Trump train is always on the truth train, and then we've got a situation where we heard recently that there were the files with Epstein, and now there's not, and so that's obviously caused a situation within MAGA. Again, what I'm saying is reporting exactly what people are saying out there, and that is my job, so I will do that, of course, as freedom of speech and freedom of the press. All right, so we do know, of course, President Trump posting an article and posting about Greg Jarrett. We're going to get to that in a second, as the FBI has launched criminal investigations into former CIA Director John Brennan and former FBI Director James Comey, focusing on their roles in the government's handling of allegations of Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. Again, that according to reports, that started out with a report from Fox, but we'll monitor it here at the network. Let's go to that post that we started out with earlier in the broadcast as well. It's going to be really hard for you to read, I'm sure, because it's going to be on the screen, really small letters, so I'm going to read it to you. But also, if you want to check it out on your phone or wherever you have Truth Social, you can follow along if you'd like. This is from President Trump earlier today. The great Greg Jarrett, it's clear, this according to the president here, Trump was framed. The collusion narrative was a conspiracy itself. The collaborators knew it was a lie, but they manipulated the dossier and the CIA to peddle their fairy tale. Brennan and Comey manipulated the system and the document itself. They abused their power. Comey launched a case against Trump in violation of the FBI regulations. He deceived the FISA court with the dossier to gain a spy warrant. The president says that John Brennan used that dossier knowing it was garbage, and he insisted it be put into the Intelligence Committee assessment. So he knew it was such a phony document, according to the president here, and that if it could be put in the Intelligence Committee assessment, it would elevate the credibility and that he could drive Trump from office. He told Congress that it wasn't in the assessment. Well, the president says it was. Can he be charged? Yes, he can, the president says. They eroded confidence and trust in the American government, particularly the FBI, CIA, and other agencies single-handedly. The president of the United States saying this morning. They set back America considerably. James Comey needs daily therapy. He's so obsessed with his hatred of Trump. It's what drove the Russia hoax. He, more than anybody else, drove the witch hunt, the president says, and he can never get over the fact that he failed and got fired. He hates that as well. On his way out the door, he purloined the FBI documents and leaked them to the media with the plan that this would trigger the special counsel and drive Trump from office. Bob Mueller was appointed, his longtime mentor and friend, but in the end, his scheme failed. President Trump at the end here saying, wow, thank you, Greg, amazing reporting. So that from President Trump earlier today. I'm going to check some other posts from the president to see if there's any other information out there from the president in regards to just any specifics that he's talking about. 2 hours ago, too late demeans the great credit of the USA. Too late, of course, referring to the Fed chairman. We are now, again, the #1 credit in the world. Gigantic comeback. The Fed rate should be reflective of this. We should be at the top of the list. Lower the rate, the president says. He also said tech stocks, industrial stocks, and NASDAQ hit all-time record highs. Crypto through the roof. NVIDIA is up 47% since Trump tariffs. USA is taking in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. This on a President Trump Truth Social post that I'm reading to you here. Country is now back. A great credit. Fed should rapidly lower rate to reflect the strength. USA should be at the top of the list. No inflation. And then the most recent post that I just shared with you prior to that actually was that one that I just shared with you that the FBI is now in that investigation. You see that right there with Donald J. Trump, of course, the commander-in-chief. And again, just to make sure that we have this for the record, we talked about everything that happened at that cabinet meeting on Tuesday about the Epstein list and all that. So it's not something that we turn a blind eye to. We know that MAGA is talking about it on both sides of the issue. And so what my job is to bring on guests to talk about it as well. And we'll see what happens. We'll see how everything transpires from here. Again, a couple great interviews yesterday. If you're really interested in some interesting thoughts about maybe how to handle things moving forward, even from the Trump administration standpoint, you know, who are we, right, to say, well, this is what they should do now. But you know what? We're called We the People, and it's okay to do that. So T.S. Dixon, the conservative analyst and author, a great interview yesterday. Seriously, check it out. And maybe I should just post it online. But still, at the beginning of the broadcast today at 12 o'clock, we were talking about the weather modification and the fact that NOAA and also the Code of Federal Regulations confirm that weather modification is a thing. It's a real thing. But we didn't connect that to any of the current situations that are happening within flash floods and that kind of thing. So again, if you'd like to see that, I brought a lot of receipts and research to it this morning or this afternoon at 12 o'clock as a viewer on Truth Social just asked, you know, what is this whole thing, weather modification? I mean, you know, Representative Green in Georgia talking about it. Ted Nugent just brought it up too, and other people. We see a lot of comments from We the People, and I think that's one thing that we're not going to lose sight of, I hope, in conservative media ever. I know at Right Side Broadcasting Network it's not going to happen, and I believe that there are other networks that are just not going to bend the knee to establishment swamp crap. It'll always be about, what are we the people saying about this? How is this affecting us, the people? That's the whole thing. That's what it's all about, right? The government of, by, and for the people. The majority of this country on the right side of history voted for President Trump 3 straight elections in a row. He won all 3 in a row. It got taken, of course. We saw what happened in 2020. And so here we are. So we want wins. That's what we want. And of course, there is support for President Donald Trump, a ton of it. And there has been since 2015. So we'll see how things transpire when it comes to how the cabinet meeting went. But that's our job, is just to monitor how it goes and read from what everybody's saying and report information. Also, when there's live events, of course, like tomorrow, we are always doing that as well. So there's a lot of different things to pick from and choose from here at Right Side when it comes to the content. And that's the thing as well. A lot of times there's content coming from all these different kinds of sources. One thing you'll always know with Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I believe with conservative media as a whole, is we stand on the right side of history. We don't do this just for our health. We don't do this just for a paycheck. And guess what? Our allegiance, as you guys know, is with God, country, the truth, the right side of history. So that's where we stand. And though on the mainstream media side of things, I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day, and he was saying, well, they get paid all this money. We're talking millions and millions, hundreds of millions, billions by corporations and by others in the sense of advertising and all that, because there's a lot of wokeness going on, a lot of leftism and liberalism going on, globalism, all those things, wokeism, to be able to have their hands on the narrative. So those people over there, some of the anchors make hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars to spew lies. And it's just because that's what's happening with the corporate structure. But the thing that's great about conservative media, as we increase and as we the people create more conservative industry and we the people donate to places like Right Side Broadcasting Network, our network, and others, to really support. We have the power of a boycott, you know what I'm saying? Like as a people, we saw what happened with Mike Lindell with certain stores. We saw what happened with other situations out there. So if it's us versus them, I hope it's not. I'd rather just companies are starting to say no more DEI. They're starting to be like, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. They have to realize we're the ones that run the show, and God is on the side of freedom. And I'm going to say that again. That feels good to say it. Why don't we all say it together? No. But God is on the side of freedom. And that's what this is about. Just common sense. Enough of the stuff on the left. All right, so tomorrow we're going to see President Trump in Texas. It's going to be great to see him there, especially on the heels of all that terrible stuff that happened. More than 100 people lost their lives. There's people missing still. Again, we'll have that live coverage here. Why don't we do this? Before we go to some sponsors, let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Looking live there out there in Hawaii right now of some smoke from a volcano, just monitoring various things that are happening across the country. Obviously looking live there at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. President Trump earlier today had an intelligence briefing. That's something that is a daily briefing that he has. That's closed press. As of right now, nothing added to the public schedule. We do know tomorrow he'll be in Central Texas as well. Speaking of leaders, let's go to Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who moments ago at the Department of State shared about a minute or so a message about international trade. Let's take a look.
The president's been very clear, and he has been, frankly, if you go back to videos of him speaking in the 80s about his feeling that the state of global trade is unfair to the United States, that for far too long we allowed these imbalances to develop. We are the world's largest consumer. We're a huge market where people export things to us. And with these huge and unsustainable imbalances have developed with countries all over the world. And so this is a globalized effort to reset U.S. trade in a way that's beneficial to the United States, and not just in dollars and cents, but also in our own domestic industrial capacity. So this has been made clear to countries around the world. We were coming up upon the middle of this month, and the markets demand certainty, and so these letters set a baseline. Now, obviously, that does not foreclose the opportunity for individual countries to enter into negotiations that perhaps can adjust those numbers. But in the end, the president still remains very committed to a rebalancing of trade that's fair to America, and also at the same time protects our own industrial capabilities.
Right. Okay, the Secretary of State moments ago there at the Department of State speaking to reporters about international trade. All right, so it's 1:20 Eastern. We started our live coverage at 12 o'clock. We'll be monitoring the news of the day, any breaking news as well. And if sometimes we've seen it where a press briefing or some sort of live event would be added to the president's schedule. As of right now, it was that intelligence briefing at 10:30 this morning, as we are monitoring all sorts of news that's happening out there in that 24/7 news cycle. Again, tomorrow, President Trump in Texas. On Tuesday, we're told he'll be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, returning to the Steel City. We'll share with you as soon as we know any details about the reason for that trip. And then also, he'll be in Scotland and the United Kingdom toward the end of July and into August. So those events there, of course, we'll cover here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Always a live situation when it comes to all of the politics that's going on, when it comes to national, international stories as well. Let's go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, where there's breaking news with RSBN and from RSBN when it comes to All Family Pharmacy. You know, they are known for standing up for medical freedom. They just launched that biggest sale of the year. It's now through July 13th. It's buy one, get one free. So things like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, the 200 milligram amount there, that means whatever you order, they'll double it. So that's 30 capsules becomes 60, 90 becomes 180, no insurance, no red tape, doctor's prescription included. So while big chains shut you out, All Family Pharmacy steps up, giving patriots the power to choose. It's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can act now, protect your health. The buy one, get one free. That ends in 3 days from now. All right, so let's go to Colonial Metals Group as well. freegoldguide.com/RSBN. So you can get that info kit in the mail. I think that's one of the great steps with Colonial Metals Group is just getting that info kit. Once you page through that, or if you just go to the website, freegoldguide.com, you'll learn all about gold, silver, and precious metals and how you can protect your IRA, your 401k with gold, 100% tax-free, and also use the QR code there that'll take you right to freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Those BRICS nations in the news recently as well. And we know that Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they've been using their own currency instead of the US dollar. Well, hopefully that'll change back. But the point is, we know that inflation's down, if even existing at this point. The president's saying there is no inflation right now. We know we want Maganomics to increase. We want gas prices to keep going down. But still, gold and silver for those with a retirement or a savings. You want to put some of that money or all of that money into gold and silver, you have that option with Colonial Metals Group. freegoldguide.com/RSBN as it's 123 Eastern Time. Looking live there at the White House in the top right corner. Bottom left corner, that is Hawaii right now. This is a very small situation right at this point, but it's a volcano erupting there, according to the USGS, just a little bit of the smoke there. Bottom right corner, I believe, is one of the cameras at the White House, where that's where the stakeout happens, where sometimes Karen Levitt or Tom Homan or Stephen Miller just approach and speak to the reporters there. So that's kind of the live look that we're seeing on all four. Of course, we're in Alabama here, and so great to be in the Southeast. Also great to be up in the Washington, D.C. area, because both places, a lot going on, and we can cover a lot from Alabama here as we see the live feed there in Washington. So there's just a number of news stories that we're monitoring. We'll bring that to you as we get it. So I'm going to go to Truth Social one more time and X before we do kind of a line change. Line change for those of you that like hockey out there. Something you do once in a while when it comes to switching to the next player. So that's what we'll be doing here in about 1:30. Robert McNeely will be in studio covering the news of the day as well. And also, he may have some live interviews lined up. Looking forward to that coverage as we continue our live coverage here at Right Side. So let's go to, again, President Trump's Truth Social. The latest he's reported was 2 hours ago. The president posted an article with Greg Jarrett, and he spoke very highly of Greg recently on an article. So we will monitor that as well. Let's go to X and see if there's anything there, as it's 1:25 Eastern. Right now we see that the White House posting a number of articles, and also saying the country is now back, referring to a Truth Social post from President Donald Trump. Tech stocks, industrial stocks, and NASDAQ hit all-time record highs. Crypto, it's through the roof. NVIDIA is up 47% since Trump tariffs. The USA is taking in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. The country is now back. A great credit. Fed should rapidly lower rate to reflect the strength reading from the president's Truth Social post. USA should be at the top of the list, no inflation. So, yeah, we've seen a ton of wins from President Donald J. Trump since January 20th. We saw the big, beautiful bill turn into the big, beautiful law. And we know a lot of people are talking about the cabinet meeting on Tuesday as well. So we're just monitoring everything with you. And we're so glad that you're choosing Right Side Broadcasting Network as we stay on the right side of history here. And glad to see that President Trump will be on his way to Texas tomorrow. We'll be watching, of course, and I hope you will too. And just share with the people out there, your friends and family, that Right Side Broadcasting Network, common sense reporting, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, the great Constitution, all about God, family, and country. And we're approaching now 3 days from J13, when President Trump overcame that situation in Butler, Pennsylvania. We'll always remember Corey Compantore. We'll always remember him. And we also remember that day as God protected President Trump that day. And he overcame and won an election in a landslide. Again, 3 elections in a row. Somebody that tells it like it is, and we're looking forward to hearing more of the truth from President Donald J. Trump. We're also looking to see that any investigations, regardless of what the investigation is about, will be shared with the American people, the specifics behind it. We know what we heard, and I'm going to be straight up about it. We know what we heard when it comes to the Epstein list. We heard that there was one. We heard that there was this file, and now they're saying there's not. So what happened there, we'll see. We're monitoring it. What else can I do? I'm in Alabama right now. I'm reporting on what I see from both sides of the talking point there. But I do know this, that we are on the right side of history, and we're thankful that you're joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Before I wrap up this a little bit here, we're not going to wrap up our live coverage. Robert McNeely is on deck, and it's like baseball. It's like the first batter up, the second batter up, and we'll just swing for the fences, right? So looking forward to seeing Robert here. But also, if you missed any of the weather modification monologue that I had at the beginning of the broadcast at 12 o'clock, at the end of this broadcast, a little bit later, if you want to replay it or watch it, I think that you'll be encouraged to know that, hey, mainstream media, they're not going to talk about it like we do here in conservative media. All right, so my name is Matthew Alvarez. It is 1:28, Thursday, July 10th. Let's go to a commercial break. I'll see you again soon. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be covering, of course, the Central Texas flooding situation there. President Trump will be there, and it'll be coverage that we'll have live here. So next up, Robert McNeely. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in a second.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. If you're just tuning in, Matthew Alvarez having great earlier coverage on a number of different topics facing the latest from the Trump White House and everything domestically and internationally, as this has been quite the week of news happening on a number of different fronts. Facing you, the great American people, the MAGA movement, the populist situation where it stands nearly 6 months into office since taking that oath, President Trump, on January 20th of this year. And what a great day that was. A cold day, but well worth it to cover in the beautiful federal city of Washington, D.C. We had the opportunity to catch up with Mr. Jim Paff of the Conservative Caucus. We really dove into a number of all of these different items facing the administration, facing you, we the people, the good people of this great country, and where everything stands past the bill signing on the 4th of July of the One Big Beautiful Bill, and countless other scenarios, including the end of the 12-day war. Also, where everything stands between the United States and Israel, as we saw Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu in Washington, D.C. to meet with President Trump and also Secretary of Defense, the Pentagon Chief, Pete Hegseth, just this week. Because we know that that area of the world is still a hotbed for the future, although peace really seems within grasp. Even President Trump just yesterday sitting with leaders in the African continent, experiencing peace really for the first time in an extraordinarily long time, to sit down together, and many of the leaders stating that President Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. In fact, Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu nominating President Trump for just that this week and presenting him with that letter of the nomination itself. So I look forward to all of that, as well as our great sponsors here on the right side of history, Kalshi.com/RSBN. It's questions like, will Elon Musk create a new political party this year? 36% chance that that will not happen. You can change that with your vote. Or look at, who will President Trump pardon this year? So along with those questions, you get questions like, will the Los Angeles Dodgers be able to repeat their World Series championship, just as the Florida Panthers did for the NHL Stanley Cup? So exciting questions, all at Kalshi.com/RSBN. Trade on everything in the American culture. Very exciting thing to do. And angelpace.com out of Spring, Texas. They're far away from the north of San Antonio where the horrible floods took place, but our hearts and prayers, our souls are with the great state of Texas. But you can experience the miracle that they feature with their Miracle Cream. It's vitamin B infused and also non-GMO, no chemicals. There is the orange option, the immunity, and also many others, including a natural facial spray to paint the town red. Also, a natural mosquito repellent. Great to use while you're outside enjoying your barbecues this past 4th of July and all of the celebrations you're having this summer. Angelpace.com. Christian only, hire veterans. We're now joined by Jason Meister, who is on the Trump Advisory Board. Jason, great to see you, sir. Thank you for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. So much going on in American politics right now, and I think we might have some technical difficulties here. If Jason can hold for a moment, sir, if you can hear me, we'll get back to you momentarily. But Jason, a great Trump Advisory Board member who knows a thing or two about what's going on in Washington, D.C., especially the latest updates on Comey versus Brennan and all of those situations where the Department of Justice is now looking into who knew what when it came to the Obama administration. We do know Crossfire Hurricane on a daily basis now. The Russia hoax, as is otherwise known as, there seemed to be collusion of some sort, but not on the part of President Trump, but on the part of the former administrations. And again, we're joined now by Jason Meister, the Trump Advisory Board member. Thank you for joining Right Side Broadcasting Network. Can we dive into the developments with Brennan and Comey and just how deep this deep state League of Shadows globalists were attempting to do, overthrowing President Trump in his first term?
Thanks for having me, Rob. Yeah, look, I've been following this scandal since 2016. That's how long this has been going on. But if you look at the timeline of what actually occurred and how condensed it was, it is just absolutely breathtaking what took place in the United States of America. If you go back to July 28th of 2016, leading up to the 2016 election, John Brennan briefed at the time President Barack Obama in the Oval Office on the Clinton plan to smear President Trump with claims of Russia collusion, all based off of the Steele dossier, which we now know was funded by the Clinton campaign. Instead of John Brennan opening up an investigation into the Clinton campaign, the very next day, on July 29th of 2016, right after he briefed President Barack Obama on the, quote, Clinton plan, he formed what's called the task force, which compiled fabricated allegations, foreign intelligence allegations against the Trump campaign. 2 days later, on July 31st of 2016, Barack Obama and his FBI opened what's called the Crossfire Hurricane investigation, which was not an investigation, it was an operation against the Trump campaign. They essentially weaponized the intelligence community using a false and frivolous dossier, the Steele dossier, to spy illegally on Trump and his campaign associates, all, by the way, private U.S. citizens at the time. This is a breathtaking scandal. It is the greatest political scandal in American history. It dwarfs Watergate and the Pentagon Papers. And until those that are responsible for this conspiracy are held accountable, which include Barack Obama, John Brennan, James Comey, Clapper, Hillary Clinton, among many others in power, I'm afraid to say that we are no better than a third world country. And that's really what's at stake here.
Yes, a banana republic might be the proper term for it, but they really seem to target especially General Flynn in this process. And he's been exonerated from all of this now. How would we go about to bring justice to these individuals who clearly were working against the United States from within the halls of power at the White House?
Well, I think it's fairly simple. I think we need to arrest, indict, convict, and bring in to under oath those that committed crimes. And those that committed crimes, again, are James Comey, John Brennan at the top of the ticket, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton. These are all players in this conspiracy to overthrow a duly elected president. And what they did to this country, remember, this consumed, just to bring it back into the proper context, this consumed 5 years of our national discourse. It cost the country $50+ million, which was the Mueller investigation, all predicated on a nonsense dossier that was dirt that Hillary Clinton's campaign paid for and funded. So this dirt campaign that Hillary Clinton's campaign paid for threw our country in a constitutional crisis for which we still have not come out of. And it framed a three-star general, to your General Mike Flynn. It undermined a sitting U.S. president. It sabotaged an entire administration. And I would argue it had significant impacts on our foreign policy. I think there's a war right now in Ukraine, the last time I checked. We've demonized Russia as our main enemy and Putin, again, based on this BS nonsense dossier that was paid for by Hillary Clinton's campaign and funded by her campaign. And Barack Obama used that dirt, that salacious dirt, that's all it was, to weaponize three-letter agencies against his political opponent, which is Donald J. Trump. It is the greatest political scandal in American history. And I don't think we can come back from this as a country, as a constitutional republic, until we hold those accountable and put them behind bars. That's what needs to be done.
Do you anticipate, with the Department of Justice now looking into James Comey and John Brennan, that there will be indictments as a result of this? And do you feel that, if you look at Benghazi and you look at, to your point, Jason, with Russia invading Ukraine, was this really the Clinton foreign policy that seemed to overtake Barack Obama when he was president? Because what's interesting about when he first ran, he was running against the Bush foreign policy of, actually, it was very similar to President Trump's policy. Why don't we dialogue with people? Why don't we talk to them rather than drop bombs first? We know that President Obama ordered a drone strike on an American citizen who was fighting with the Taliban, so no due process there. But then also the situation of he brings President-elect Trump into the Oval Office and says the next war you'll have is with North Korea. And then to President Trump's point and his knowledge, hey, Barack, why didn't you give them a call in the first place? And we saw that peace through strength even worked in a situation like that. So it seems an interesting thing to examine as the Clinton foreign policy seemed to win out during the Obama years.
Absolutely. I concur with you completely. It is crazy to think that a dossier that was just paid for by a campaign could have such crazy impact on our foreign policy, but it did. We've spent the last decade demonizing Russia, when in fact, if you think about it, China has been our real main enemy. I mean, through COVID, if there was any wake-up call that globalization and the CCP was the biggest threat to the United States of America and our sovereignty, and the fact that we relied on China for life-saving drugs, when they've released a bioweapon that killed, tens of millions of people around the world from the Wuhan lab. It's the COVID virus pandemic that woke us up to that fact. And the idea that we've been demonizing Russia, look, Putin is a dictator. He needs to be dealt with. But the idea that we've demonized Russia and made it our number one enemy is just insane to me. We need to be talking to Russia. We need to be friends with Russia. We need to open our discussion with Russia in this time of uncertainty in the world. And the idea that this dossier created this enemy out of Russia, I think, is really a problem. And I think we need to get to the bottom of that as well.
Now, do you think there might be a connection between the Epstein files and something to do with the Obama administration? Some are claiming that there might be a tie between everything domestically to internationally, and there seems to be some confusion as to why the Department of Justice right now is not backtracking or at least stating that things were once there, allegedly. And what about Merrick Garland? Where is he in all of this? Because was he not sitting on all of the Epstein files over the course of the last 4 or so years?
Yeah, look, a lot of very important points you're bringing up. I have lots of concerns about the transparency as it relates to the Epstein files. I think it's very important the American people, especially after the last decade of multiple crimes that have been committed by the highest levels of our government and the corruption within our government. I think it's incredibly important that there's transparency that's been brought, that is brought to the American people. We need transparency. We need to understand what's going on as far as these Epstein files. And by the way, there's no question that a lot of the evidence as far as it relates to Jeffrey Epstein was obliterated, destroyed before Trump took back power in 2024. So I think that everyone needs to take a step back and understand that a lot of the evidence that we thought was there is probably no longer there. And let's just be real about it. But I do think it's very important that this administration and the Trump administration brings transparency around why they're not releasing this information and what is the information that we do have. We need to see it now at this point. You can't hold these documents back from the American people. There's too much demand to see these documents, to see what actually happened. And so I think, look, James Comey and John Brennan probably have their fingers all over the Epstein files as well, the evidence there as well. So I think we need to see transparency. I fully support President Trump. I think everyone around him in this new Department of Justice needs to step up to the plate and get transparency to the Americans.
And it is something that he is really fixing the problems of a Chicago-era style of governance that came to our federal city in the likes of Barack Obama and his cronies that surrounded him, including the auto pen, good old Joe from Delaware, that was one of those top picks from the Democrat elite. I can remember President Clinton saying, gosh, Barack Obama knocked it out of the park. It's all part of this big cabal of the far left neoliberal agenda, is it not?
Oh, there's no question. And every scandal seems to roll into a bigger scandal, right? So, and that's part of why I said from the beginning of this interview, we need to hold those responsible accountable, because if we don't do that, they're just going to continue to grow stronger and stronger with every next scandal and crime against this country. So it started out with the Russia collusion hoax, which we talked about earlier. That then rolled into the idea of the 51 intelligence officers that signed a letter, right, that said that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, when in fact it was an authentic laptop with many crimes all on the laptop, which allowed candidate Biden at the time, to look at Donald Trump in the face in front of tens of millions of Americans on that second debate stage and say that there was no there, that it was Russian disinformation, when in reality, there were crimes that were on that laptop and it was authentic. And by the way, it's not about Hunter Biden. It's about Joe Biden, who converted his son to a bag man to collect and split with him the millions of dollars of graft that they took from all around the world, including Russia, China, and Ukraine. Then that scandal, right, turned into the cover-up of COVID. It's just one scandal after the next, and the American people are sick and tired of it. They want to see those that have committed crimes against this country, no matter how powerful they are, be held accountable. It also has to do with the Jeffrey Epstein file. So all these things are connected in that. People that are in power are protecting themselves. And this President Trump, was elected by the people for the people, transparency to the American people. That's why it is so critical that this administration bring transparency to all of these crimes and hold those that committed those crimes.
Jason, what's the bigger circle in this? Is there a reason why the neocons, the neoliberals of the last 25 or so years, always claiming that it was the post-World War II foreign policy, but if you look at people like the Bush administration, to the Obama administration, and then to Otto Penn, seemingly ready to blow up everything in sight and use these weapons of war to really harm people. As President Trump has said, this technology, even the last 20 or so years, has really grown to be scary and violent. We see these drones that fire literal fireballs and fire streams into the enemy. And you have Russia and Ukraine soldiers who are really paying the price amongst wonderful citizens of both nations with two very corrupt leaders. Why were the neocons and the neoliberals unwilling to sit down and just really work for the cause of peace? Is it financial backing? Is it this lust for war? It seems very strange.
I think it's a lot financial. I think a lot of corporations that benefit from war are part of this military-industrial complex. But I think what's interesting is that warfare has changed dramatically over the years, right? It used to be bullets and tanks. Now it's cyber attacks and bio warfare and information warfare. That's why the social media is sort of a double-edged sword, right? It's good because it brings transparency to the American people, but it's bad because it can be used as a technique of warfare, as information warfare against the American people as well. So it's hard to say exactly, why the neocons are so lust and hungry for war. But there's no question that they have been, over the last couple of decades, looking for conflict around the world. And then came President Trump down that escalator in 2015, and his new doctrine of peace through strength really did come into play in that first term, where we had the Abraham Accords, we had started no new wars. And by the way, I think that's part of why to get rid of Donald Trump back in 2020, because they saw for 4 years peace through strength actually effectively work around the world. And it didn't feed their lust and their hunger for these wars, and it didn't benefit them financially. So what did they do? They released a bioweapon that took out tens of millions of people, got rid of the populist movement, MAGA movement, for 4 years. But what they didn't realize is that movement would sustain itself for 4 years and come back to power. And I don't think John Brennan and James Comey and Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton thought that Donald Trump would ever take power again, and he did. And now it's important for his DOJ to step up to the plate, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, and everyone that's surrounding them, and have a spine and a backbone and take these people down. Because if you don't take them down, they come back to power, you'll never see this country.
Jason Meister, Trump Advisory Board member. Sir, thank you for being on Right Side Broadcasting Network. A true pleasure. Please come back, as we'll stay on this. My pledge to you, all the great work you've done as citizen journalists here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, but also where these connections might actually come together. I think it's one of the biggest scandals and stories that it's been developing over the last few years, and now we know the truth behind a lot of it, and we'll see where that ultimately leads. And hopefully those in charge, those prosecutors, especially at the federal level, will have the backbone to seek liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for having me.
And we're covering the latest from the Trump White House today. President Trump early this morning getting that briefing on intelligence. Just yesterday also meeting with African leaders, talking about peace through strength. The follow-up from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, also the Republic of Rwanda, who have had peace for the first time in 30 plus years. The scariest, the most brutal, the bloodiest conflict in the world since World War II, with over 6 million people dying in that period of time. So to Jason's point, the peace through strength MAGA mantle of Donald Trump is winning the day. The military-industrial complex, not too happy with it. So we'll stay on all of this as it develops. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. There's a new COVID strain. There's also summer travels. So when you get sick, good to have that medicine cabinet fully stocked and ready. Now through July 13th, that's only Sunday. So cancel those plans this weekend before, just in case, so you can get this great deal. So you're talking 30 tablets become 60, 90 become 180. Scan the QR code now. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, mebendazole, also NAD+, over 200 essential medications, emergency medical kits, also antibiotics that will protect you and yours. So there's really no excuse in this unpredictable world of not having that medicine cabinet ready to go. It's as essential as having food in the house and going to the grocery store and just being ready in case there is a disaster. Now, also, what's great about this, especially those emergency medical kits, you can take them on the road with you during your summer vacation. So buy one, get one free at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN now through July 13th. And stick with us here because in a few minutes, we'll have the co-owner, Michael Kunzler from All Family Pharmacy, to talk on why this is the best option for an online pharmacy and why online pharmacies make sense in 2025. If you like what you see on Right Side Broadcasting Network, from the live desk to our primetime show tonight, The Voice of Reason, stick with us at 6 o'clock Eastern, and all of being in the field, talking to you, the great American people, like we did last week in Des Moines, Iowa, or even the written word, which you can find with our newsletters, please feel free to donate. rsbnetwork.com/donate or texting RSBN to 801-801 because, look, we're up against legacy media. Some are good people, some have an agenda, but many have billions behind them in one way or another, pushing a narrative, and we've seen the fake news and how that damaged the first Trump administration. But thanks to his wherewithal, thanks to his grit, thanks to people like Pat Nixon way back in the day, Roger Stone, all saying there's an it factor to the presidency, and Donald Trump has it. So rsbnetwork.com/donate, RSBN. You could text that to 801-801. We'd be honored to have your support financially to keep this mission going, defending freedom of speech. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Stick with us here at 1:55 Eastern on Right Side Broadcasting Network Live.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, All sizes only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order.
Welcome back to RSBN Live, almost at the top of the 2 o'clock hour. Good afternoon on the East Coast, the Central Coast, and the West Coast. Good morning, America. It's always a pleasure to be with you. And I say Central Coast because of those Great Lakes, which you might be enjoying post 4th of July. We are joined by All Family Pharmacies. Michael Kunzler, the co-owner. Always a pleasure to have you, sir, to talk about these important medications that are literally life-saving and how the market is changing into online pharmacies, especially since President Trump signing that executive order to bring down the cost of pharmaceuticals. Now, All Family Pharmacy touting its July 4th promo as the biggest sale of the year. And I'm sorry to all my friends who have to see me constantly on Rumble and YouTube with the ads we're doing, but it's lots of fun to see that popping up. But what makes this Independence Day and the celebration of July in the summertime such a unique event and significant for Americans who value their health and that freedom and independence to choose life-saving drugs that can make a difference?
Yeah, so we thought, obviously July 4th weekend and week after that we would do the biggest sale solely because it's, America's birthday and Americans deserve to have medical freedom. They deserve to have these opportunities where they can purchase medication for off-label use. Or alternative options, or even just traditional antibiotics, anything along those lines. So we're hoping that we see it so far, but this is probably going to be one of the biggest sales we've had of the year. We have the buy one, get one free on ivermectin, mebendazole, and the hydroxychloroquine. So we have the triple combo, some of the most popular medications out there right now being used for alternative purposes. And we're seeing great results. Our patients are seeing great results. And we're really excited to provide them this sale because some of these alternative purposes require higher dosing of the medication. So they're truly able to save money and build up a supply for the year, which is awesome.
And it's a buy one, get one free through July 13th, this upcoming Sunday, on ivermectin, the mebendazole, also hydrochloroquine, which really have been targeted by the establishment gatekeepers. They've said, dating back to the beginning of COVID, there's no way this would work. But then we saw some of these treatments being highly effective. Why did you select these specific medications, and what's the message you're sending by highlighting them during this time, celebrating 249 years of America as we enter this Jubilee year of America 250, where freedom will ring throughout the great land?
Yes, we chose obviously the holiday for the specific reason. It's the biggest holiday of the year for us with the birth of America. These specific medications, ivermectin and mebendazole, are probably ivermectin is number one. Mebendazole is top 5 and biggest sellers that we sell. And the reason for that is a lot of our patients are using it off-label for cancer support. We're hearing a lot of great news, a lot of great stories. I mean, I just spoke to somebody this morning whose father is taking it, stage 4 metastatic, and he's just providing me nothing but good news on his father, which is great. We can't deem it that it's the medication working, but again, it's supporting him in his fight against cancer. And with all of the vaccines and all of the injuries coming out from them, we have a doctor up in Canada we're working with as a health coach for some of these medications, and he's even providing testimonials to us and to his patient base that it's helping. So right now, the reason that these are the biggest drugs out there is because of the support that it's providing to not only just COVID, but to cancer as an alternative purpose or an off-label use medication. And it requires a high dose, and a higher dose requires a higher dollar amount. And, that's just being blunt about it. So we're providing that sale to basically almost 50% off, right? You buy one capsule, you get one free. It's really helping a lot of our patients who are taking it for 3 to 4 months at a time. So that's why we chose those. And then the hydroxychloroquine is a wonderful medication people have been taking for decades. And again, they're using it for off-label use for antivirals. They're hearing, the COVID coming around again, whether it's true or not, we have no idea. But people just want to stay prepared. They don't want to get into a mess where they're sick in bed for 7 days. So we're giving them an opportunity to purchase a little bit of medication. We double it for free, and now you have it for the rest of the year.
And it makes a lot of sense because over the past few years, many Americans really doing right to try, which was championed by the Trump administration in the first term, despite the pushback by big pharma and government agencies, are you still seeing that strong demand from the patients who want these alternative medicines in order to not only feel better, but to really stop cancers, as you're speaking of, COVID, all these other ailments, whether viral or bacterial, from occurring in the first place?
Yeah, there is a huge demand. I just spoke to a woman maybe 20 minutes ago on the phone. I mean, and she was stage 4, and she's got no other option. She's fighting for her life. She's doing chemo, she's doing radiation, and they're scared it's not going to be enough. With the vaccine injuries, they're stating, some of these doctors are stating it's causing metastatic cancer, it's causing it to spread, it's causing more aggressive types of cancer. We're seeing cancers at different levels now than we've seen in the past. I'm not an oncologist. I have family history of cancer. I lost my father. I lost my father-in-law to cancer. I've seen it firsthand. So we have sympathy for those who are coming to us. We're trying to do our best to help them, to provide them the right information. Again, it's off-label. It's not guaranteed, but we are seeing tremendous results on the pharmacy level just by word of mouth.
And my sincere condolences, because I'm a cancer survivor myself, Michael. We've spoken on this before, and
yes.
You see it slightly differently, because when the C word hits, it's the sense of it's automatically, it might be death. And we're seeing that it's one of the top 5 leading items of death in the United States. And with so many Americans growing skeptical of big pharma and corporate healthcare, why should the freedom-loving families across this great land not only spread the message, but also personalize this with the off-label or alternative treatments that prioritize patient care and choice above all else?
Yeah, so, off-label use medication is cheaper than what big pharma is going to provide, right? You have all those expensive chemotherapies, radiations. We're always going to suggest you listen to your oncologist. But the big pharma way about it is to make millions and billions of dollars off of these therapies. When you use off-label use, it's not that expensive compared to chemotherapy and radiation, right? So we're putting the patient choice over the profit that we want to make. And it's plain and simple. We're always going to be there as the right to try. We're always going to be there to try to help you or support you in any way, whether it's, mentally, physically, the medication. It's something that we're going to get you. Vitamins, supplements. We're going to get you alternative use medications. There's a numerous amounts of information that we could provide, and our pharmacists as well as our physicians are willing to provide, because at the end of the day, most doctors, they're kind of just in and out of the room in less than 5 minutes. You don't really get a lot of information from them. They don't want to give you guarantees. They don't want to tell you stuff because they don't want to take the liability. They don't want to look like a liar. They just going to kind of brush it off and just pass by room. And that is a reason for insurance. We hate insurance because of that. Insurance is lowering the amount they're paying doctors, so the doctors double up the patients. And so we choose the patient over the profit, and that's pretty simple with the all-family pharmacy outlook. And that's why we've grown significantly over the last 5 years since we started in 2020. It's pretty simple, and we love it as a pharmacy. Our staff loves it, and our pharmacists have never seen it before. I have 5 pharmacists here that have over 30 years of experience, and they've never seen anything like it. And it's truly mind-opening to them, just being able to be a pharmacy, being able to not sit there and have the corporations and your bosses down your throat about why you didn't push vaccines this month. We're in flu season, and that's what their job is. We speak to them all the time, and we've got guys that work in corporate chains, and their job is flu season is to push the vaccines. If they don't hit their numbers, they get written up, they get in trouble. It's a long list of stuff that happens. And so here at this pharmacy, we don't do that. We tell them to make sure the medication's safe and effective, to answer the patients with genuine questions and answers, and to make sure that when you get off that phone, that person is comfortable taking that medication that they're looking at ordering. And it's pretty simple, and most of our patients know that.
Yeah, I think the pandemic era of a few years ago really pulled back that curtain, and you see these things with insurance companies actually owning pharmacies sometimes down the street. So it's, in a sense, a quid pro quo, or maybe some kind of special interest there, and double dipping, if you will. So you have that happening, but also I think what's even more insidious is the fact that you have medical doctors who sign on. So much of this is passionate. They dedicate their lives, their sacred honor, their wealth in many cases. It's expensive to go to medical school. and then they're told to do that, as you were mentioning, Michael, against the will of what they all sign on to do no harm. And then it's almost as if these conscience rights go away, something that's enshrined in law, but that high stake pressure from the corporations really seems to hit them. So how has that affected you as not only an entrepreneur, but someone who is in the medical industry?
So, we look for people who think like us. We look for people who talk like us, who act like us. All of our pharmacists, they're freedom-thinking individuals. All of our physicians are freedom-thinking individuals. I met a lot of my doctors from the America's Frontline Doctor Group when we did the telemedicine, and those were the ones on TV when the white coats that President Trump was trying to protect. Those are the doctors we look for. We look for pharmacists, and you'll be surprised. A lot of pharmacists are very freedom-thinking individuals. They want you to try stuff. The thing that's holding them back is the corporation they work for. And here at All Family Pharmacy, we're a family-owned independent pharmacy. We're not going to be upset with a pharmacist for telling a patient something, to try something new, to look at an alternative use, to guide them in the right direction. We're not going to do that. We're not going to push them to tell the patients to take vaccines and take all these expensive medications when we can provide them similar medications at a cheaper alternative price. That's just what we do, and our patients love us for us. You can look up the reviews, you can look up our license. Nobody complains. It's very far from few, and the ones that complain are stuff we can't defend or fight. And these are probably people that are after us for political reasons. That's usually what it comes down to, or a competitor. It's one or the other. But we're a family owned. We're fighting through it all, and we're growing, and we're going to continue to grow as long as we have people like you at RSBN that are helping us and getting the word out there, so people are comfortable utilizing our sources, our resources, and our website, and what we have to offer as an online pharmacy.
Well, that's our mission here, to get the right information out to people so they can make that informed decision. And All Family Pharmacy really has positioned itself as a champion for medical freedom. It's no insurance, no hassle, no red tape. It cuts against the bureaucracy for prescription-driven medications that are life-saving. So how does this sale that ends on Sunday really align with your ultimate mission?
Yeah, we provide the medications that we're simply guiding people for at a cheaper price now. We do this sale 3 times a year. The last year we did it twice. This year we're on track for 3 times. It's a huge sale. It provides almost a 50% discount basically, and it's going to allow those who cannot afford alternative treatments that are needing to take this medication for 4 to 6 months to be able to provide it now. It's as simple as that, and we're going to continue pushing sales like this. We're hoping after the sale we can bring some pricing down, like President Trump is pushing to do. As we grow, we bring our pricing down. And it's just as simple as that. And we're hoping that everybody's happy with the sale, because I know we're happy at the end. We gain a lot of patience. We gain a lot of trust. It just gets really busy here.
Oh, absolutely. No question about that. With such a great deal, like 30 turns into 60, 90 turns into 180 tablets. We're talking hydrochloroquine, ivermectin, mebendazole, among other excellent treatments from All Family Pharmacy. Where can people go from today through Sunday, July 13th, to take advantage of this really once in a generation lifetime? This is a huge, huge offer that really should not be passed up.
Yeah, so allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can go to our website. You can place it under the ivermectin tab or the shop all medications tab. Once you place your order, we automatically double the ivermectin, the mebendazole, or the hydroxychloroquine. So we'll double the order once you place it. It's not on refills, it's on new orders. And a lot of people ask why, and it's for legality purposes. These are prescription medications. They do require a physician to review the profile, to speak with a patient. They want to review everything. So when we're doubling that order, we want to make sure we're doing everything compliant. And we're going to send it to a doctor. We're saving you tons of medication on, tons of money on the medication, So you just unfortunately have to pay a $20 doctor fee, which last time I checked is far lower than what people's copays are.
Yes, that's the truth of it. I love the advertisement of copays, and then sometimes it seems to double or triple even for a basic visit to go see the doctor. And that's something, just out of personal curiosity, Michael, from your expertise co-owning All Family Pharmacy, from being in the medical field, how many people, without violating HIPAA, of course, and things of that nature, do you have patients that are coming to you saying, I'm literally running out of my life savings trying to survive and trying to keep going, when you have terrible diagnoses such as cancer? I mean, we've heard these stories in the past. We've had situations like Obamacare, which proved to not really work out for most people because it was government infused and a government takeover of the healthcare industry. But this has been a big topic in America, really 1950s on, that people are going bankrupt because of healthcare, trying to survive. Do you have patients coming to you looking for that financial relief?
Absolutely. It's unfortunate. It happens all the time. We speak to these patients and, they go up in the chain. When a conversation like this happens with one of our technicians, they're trying to come to one of the upper management, myself, my brother, who's my business partner, as well as one of our managers. And we're going to figure out a way to get them the medication they need at the price that's comfortable for them. And that's pretty simple. We tell people all the time, the prices are the prices, but there's always room for negotiation. We're always willing to talk. We're not going to sit here and say the price is one price. It's not like that here at the pharmacy, not at all. I have a lot of patients who are on Social Security and they have cancer. And so, we work out deals where we charge them, on the monthly basis, a small fee, and we provide them just a little bit of medication to get them through that month. The next month, we do the same thing. We don't charge them shipping. We eat it out of our costs. We pay for the doctor fee out of our own costs, just to be able to provide patients the medications that they need. That's going to keep them fighting against, obviously, the big C word. So we are willing to work with our patients. But when we run these big sales, for that specific reason. We give people the opportunity to bulk up on medication, to purchase what they need that they're comfortable purchasing for the future. The medication's going to last. The expiration dates are great on what we purchase. We just want to run these sales like this now every 3 months, 4 months, to make sure that people that are in those specific categories, they're able to purchase medication from us without breaking the bank, without putting themselves in major debt. We're not trying to make money off of people like that. It's, that is our number one rule here.
Michael Kunzler of All Family Pharmacy, the co-owner, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Take advantage of this great sale now through July 13th on Sunday. Buy one, get one free. Sir, you are doing the Lord's work, and we thank you for joining us live here at Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Appreciate you having me. It's great talking with you.
And as we cover the latest from the Trump White House, inside the Beltway, outside the Beltway, and in your neck of the woods, we are proud of the sponsorships here on the right side of history, because where else are you going to find great deals like that? allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Buy one, get one free through Sunday. Thank you to Michael for joining us once again. And in case you missed it, no tax on tips to deliver massive pay increase for Uber drivers. And I always ask them too, how much can you really make doing this? But if you really, work around the clock, some Uber drivers do extraordinarily well. And this will be a huge highlight for the great drivers who are out there. With the one big beautiful bill signed into law, President Trump has delivered the largest tax cut in history for middle and working class Americans. But that's not all. This historic legislation fulfills his no tax on tips campaign promise, which allows hardworking Americans to keep more of their earnings on tipped income. Watch as many have spoken on this very topic, including those who might be on some rival legacy networks, stating that this is a net benefit for the drivers and also for Uber's network. Thank you to Tax Network USA, tnusa.com/RSBN. You might as well call it today. Don't delay by going to 800-357-1415, tnusa.com/RSBN. Protect yourself from the IRS. Settle those back taxes now. Let's just say that business you've gotten up off the ground, but the books are all over the place because it's just unorganized. That's okay. If you missed April 15th, don't be worried. This is the group to go to for all of that support. tnusa.com/RSBN. 800-357-1415. Thank you to Tax Network USA. Also, mypillow.com/RSBN. Thank you to Mike Lindell with another free shipping sale on the My Cross, his personal necklace. There is a male version, there's a female version. Save 50% off of that now, and you can wear the same beautiful cross necklace that Mike Lindell wears and proudly displays on an everyday basis. How about the My Pillow bed sheets going for $24.98 and the multi-use My Pillow 2.0 now $9.98. My goodness gracious, that is one of the best deals for a pillow that will truly change your life. Whether it's a patriotic pillow or with God all things are possible, whatever theme you'd like, or just a simple color, white, pink, blue, maybe the good old red, white, and blue. It is a great pillow. Let me tell you, it got my sleep back on track. My Pillow 2.0 will do that for you as well. mypillow.com/RSBN. Call today, don't delay, at 800-836-7566. Support Mike Lindell and RSBN by shopping now at mypillow.com/RSBN. And the no tax on tips. Very, very good to see with Uber drivers receiving a pay increase, making the job more attractive to workers and improving driver supply. Also, a no tax on tips is estimated to deliver a 2.5% pay bump for Uber drivers, according to the analyst. Also, no federal income tax withheld on tipped wages, meaning more cash in hand for those drivers across the country. And you earned your tips. You should keep them. With tax-free incentives, many Americans will be willing to take on additional work and put more money in their pockets. We're going to see an average of $10,900 across the board for the average family of four across this great country of ours, thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act now signed into law. I think we'll take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back with you. Stick with us here at 220, Right Side Broadcasting Network Live Desk. Don't change the channel.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Welcome back to RSBN Live. We're covering all of the latest from the Trump White House. So much going on this week, whether it's the Department of Justice, diving into James Comey, John Brennan, these people that were truly the epitome of the deep state, of the League of Shadows, the globalists, the neocons, the neoliberals, whatever label you want to put on them, they were all anti-American, all anti-we the people. and anti-MAGA. And it's not simply just one presidential candidate in the form of President Donald Trump and his family, but rather a populist movement that was inspired a decade ago by coming down the golden escalator, by putting himself out there to take on Russia, the Crossfire Hurricane hoax, to the lawfare, to the fake impeachments, and then ultimately 2 assassination attempts. This president, his family, has the armor, the shield of God, and we pray for them on a daily basis because he's working to undo the insanity of Barack Hussein Obama and the Autopen administrations. And we wonder who ultimately was that Autopen who signed those pardons, who signed certain things into law, or even executive orders that the president at the time, Joseph R. Biden Jr., claimed he did not even touch. We know this because House Speaker Mike Johnson spoke to it in real time after he became Speaker of the House. So it's an interesting time in America. If you've been joining us for our coverage today, we're talking all things happening not only inside of the Beltway, but outside of the Beltway, and that ultimately really affect you. And the interesting situation that we seem now to not have access to these Epstein files that were once said to have been on the desk of the Attorney General, but also where was the last Attorney General under Autopen, Merrick Garland? Why was he sitting on all of these things? What did he know when? As we talked to Jason Meister earlier in the hour, do you go back to Obama and Comey and Brennan? Are there connections that are happening here? Our mission here at Right Side Broadcasting Network is not only to broadcast how you felt out at the rallies and what brought you to MAGA, but now as a live desk to bring to you unfiltered, unbridled coverage in real time of what your government is up to, whether it be the speeches, press conferences, and just about anything you can imagine inside and outside of the Beltway. We want to help be that vehicle of a new media that sheds light on the darkness and literally exposes the evildoers who want to control you, the American people. And it all started with a citizen who was a celebrity, a real estate mogul, someone who dominated hospitality and ultimately went into the golf world, did very well with that. He'll be visiting some of those courses at the end of the month in beautiful Scotland on the UK trip. But it is something really to ponder over the course of the last decade as we dive deep into all of this right here on the right side of history. It is getting close to 2:30 on the East Coast, so good afternoon, America. It's still morning way out on the West Coast. Good morning, America. I'm Robert McNeely. It's always a pleasure to be with you at RSBN's live desk. We know yesterday President Trump sitting down with African leaders and talking peace, and many of them saying, quite frankly, this man deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. We know that Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu earlier in the week, meeting with President Trump at the White House, also Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, which was probably my liberty moment of the week. Seeing Secretary Hegseth salute that American flag at full discipline with the regalia of the United States military around him and our Jewish counterparts, the good Israeli leaders, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his beautiful wife Sharon, who have been such dear friends to the United States and have been through so much since October 7th of 2023. So lots happening inside of the Beltway, and of course our thoughts and prayers continue to be with the wonderful people in Texas, with over 100 dead, many of them children, at the Mystic Camp off of the Guadalupe River in the heart of the Lone Star State of Texas. So we will keep you abreast of all of those issues as President Trump meeting earlier today with his security team, then going to Texas tomorrow to survey the damage. And we know that Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene working on legislation to make the chemtrails, the weather modification, the cloud seeding a federal crime. So we've seen that according to NOAA and the great coverage this morning by Matthew Alvarez, that it does exist in one way or another. And we've seen businesses doing such, some for good, maybe some not for good things, but we'll stay on these stories because we want to bring you the truth here. We're now joined by Katie Zachariah of the Golden State of California. She's an attorney, a political strategist, and a senior advisor to Fix California. This is a big news week, Katie, and we have a situation right now of James Comey and John Brennan. Will they finally face justice for Crossfire Hurricane and the Russia hoax that seemed to take down a duly elected president, Donald Trump, in his first term?
Right. It's so upsetting to remember 2016 and to remember these people coming after the president and really taking a sledgehammer to his knees in his first year and trying to undermine everything that he did. And he still rose up. He still delivered the greatest economy we'd seen in history for the U.S., but they should be punished. They need to be investigated, and they deserve this. And I'm so grateful that we have Director Kash Patel to be able to deliver for the president results. But results, it's justice. It's delivering him justice, because I'm sure you very clearly remember Fusion GPS, Hillary Clinton, Steele dossier, Crossfire Hurricane, and then what happened? Nothing ever ended up happening with that. And the president recently declassified Crossfire Hurricane, which I think works very well and in tandem with this investigation into Comey and Brennan.
And do you think there's any correlation between what's happening there and the Epstein files? Because we're really watching this as it develops, and we love that President Trump has put these great servant leaders into place, whether it's AG Pam Bondi, to your point, FBI Director Kash Patel, his deputy, Dan Bongino, who have worked so hard to find a solution and find the truth in all of this. But it seems this week that things might have changed, or there might be a turn over at the Department of Justice. Not saying that there's a cover-up by any means, but that more has to be investigated. It just seems as the years go on, and even the weeks and months, 6 months in this administration, they're doing amazing work, but it all seems to point back to Barack Hussein Obama, the auto pen, and everything the bureaucrats did over the course of the last several years.
Pointing back to the auto pen, pointing back to the last 4 years, the last 4 disastrous years under Joe Biden, and what President Trump is now having to completely correct in these 6 months, a historic breakneck speed. We could never have seen what President Trump has even accomplished in the last 2 weeks be accomplished by either Barack Hussein Obama or Joe Biden. And I really do trust, in regard to your question on the Epstein files, I do trust President Trump implicitly, and I trust his leadership. And if there is a sniff or smell of impropriety or needs to be an investigation or further conversation about this, I believe that he will do it. He'll direct his DOJ, he'll direct his FBI to do it. I think Kash Patel is incredible. He has a voracious appetite for uncovering the truth. So, and I know he's getting a lot of flack online. I've seen this, you've seen this. I do think Kash is the same person Kash has always been. And if it quacks like a duck, looks like a duck, is it a duck? He's there to tell us whether it's a duck. I trust them. I also trust this investigation into Comey and Brennan. I want the truth on this, and I want justice for President Trump.
And I can't imagine the pressure of their jobs. We have some pressure here in the media, but we're just trying to uncover the truth regardless of where that leads. And we're committed here on the right side of history to be the voice for the voiceless, and to find wherever that does uncover those insidious rocks that seem to be, covering up the muck and the cockroaches, if you will, that seek to do harm to people, and the evil that sadly can exist in this world. Now, if we can turn a little bit to your expertise as an attorney, we've seen that the Supreme Court very clear on these lower court judges trying to usurp the executive authority of Article 2 per the executive authority of the President of the United States. Dating back to that joint session of Congress, President Trump had stated all that mattered was it wasn't more legislation. It wasn't more just going and putting on press conferences and kicking the can down the road. We know both Republican and Democrat administrations had done that for years, especially the Congress when it came to illegal immigration. But all you needed to do was change the president. But here's the problem. We still have federal courts attempting to halt President Trump's efforts to restrict birthright citizenship and really just let him lead on this issue. So how do you see this all unfolding over the course of the next several years?
Well, Amy Coney Barrett, ACB, did an incredible job on that opinion. And what she gave President Trump and what the majority of the court gave President Trump was not just a victory, it was a nationwide mandate. This is a landslide. This is a historic, not a landslide victory. It was President Trump's landslide victory. This is a historic landmark case for the Supreme Court, meaning it set a precedent. You cannot, as a judge, you cannot issue a nationwide injunction on the details of the case before you. It is just specific to the case before you, the plaintiff before you. And so for President Trump, this is amazing. And this is exactly what needed to happen, because the precedent that had been set was not the intent of the originalists in the writing and drafting the Constitution, the Articles of Separation. No judge, no federal district court judge should ever be able to override presidential authority on a nationwide mandate. And so you have the district courts, you have the circuit courts, and then you have the Supreme Court at the federal level. And even the Supreme Court realized that this slippery slope of allowing these district court judges to usurp the authority of the president is extraordinarily dangerous, not just for President Trump, but for any president and for any executive branch versus judicial branch authority. So that in addition to her conversation about the dissenting opinion of Justice Jackson was some of my favorite modern written conversation, essentially saying that Justice Jackson was not even within the bounds of the Constitution, and there were no principles to support her idea that judicial authority could exist as a nationwide mandate. So a beautiful opinion, a nice majority from the court.
And it almost harkens back to the marriage ruling between the arguments of then Justice Kennedy, then Justice Scalia, where Justice Scalia was saying, what the hell are we doing, in essence? I mean, very much more articulate than what I just laid out there, but we're ruling on things that should have never been determined, especially socially and civilly, and especially those things that the states and localities, per the 10th Amendment and federalism, actually get to determine with states' rights. So you have a situation there that's very interesting to look as it continues to develop with the court. Even reading Federalist 80, I found it amazing that Alexander Hamilton back in 1788, someone who wanted a strong centralized government in Washington, D.C., although these were three co-equal branches of governments in Article 1, 2, and 3, it was very clear what the founders had set out to do, that these courts were not supposed to be super legislatures. And now we've seen that really in the post-World War II era. So it's great getting your professional expertise as an attorney on all of these matters. Now let's look at your golden state of California, because we've had a couple of wild issues happening. We've had President Trump sending in the National Guard because we know your current governor just will not protect people. We know Mayor Bass is spreading so much fear-mongering and conspiracy theories out there that people are on the streets of Los Angeles pointing guns, federal authorities, at the citizens of Los Angeles. Can you set the record straight for us? And why did the failed leadership of Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom, why has it caused so many people to leave the beautiful Golden State?
Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom are the creators of the violent rhetoric that's happening against ICE. People are upset because they are being given permission by the mayor of their city, by the governor of their state, to be outraged at sanctuary cities actually being regulated by the federal government. First of all, sanctuary cities are illegal. They are the Democrats' beautiful, nice term of an insurrection. They are saying we are going to pick and choose which laws we want to follow as a state, and then we're going to decide not to follow federal immigration laws. What ICE is doing, what Tom Homan is doing, what President Trump is doing is enforcing the federal immigration laws of this nation. Sanctuary states and cities should have never existed in the first place. So what we've seen with Gavin Newsom, who's now campaigning for himself in South Carolina, and Mayor Bass, who was in Ghana while her city burned down to the tune of $250 billion, is that they are more interested in political grandstanding, making a podcast, writing a Substack, or promoting violent rhetoric against the president rather than actually running their city. So people are leaving, not because California isn't an amazing, beautiful state, but because these elected officials do not work on behalf of American citizens. They are working on behalf of violent, criminal, illegal aliens, and they are working on behalf of rioters. They are working on behalf of unrest and criminals. In California, just recently, there had to be a ballot initiative which the voters voted in to say you can't rob a store and get away with it for an amount of $1,000 or under. People were robbing all of these high-end stores at about $1,000, robbing up to $950 and not being held accountable. This is enabling criminals to commit crimes. And so we do not have a governor who's interested in law and order. We don't have a mayor who's interested in law and order. And American citizens suffer because of it.
And we saw him sweating like he was guilty of something in the Palmetto State of South Carolina. But my condolences to Governor Newsom. I know it's very humid there this time of year, but it's interesting how he wants a promotion, as you stated, Katie, although he can't really get the financial house in order of California, nor can he provide for the safety. And let's play devil's advocate for a moment. Is there something beneficial to have illegal immigration in the state? Because both leaders have claimed that, oh, no one else is going to go on the pistachio farms. No one else wants to work the fields in California. Such natural, abundant resources coming from your beautiful state. But in addition to that, we find that with the sanctuary, it's Tren de Aragua, it's MS-13. It's not the best people, it's the worst who have thrived there. So is it really counterintuitive that they make such a grandstanding and such a claim that Americans don't want specific jobs, but rather it would go to people who are of illegal status?
It's offensive to those who have immigrated legally and have worked very hard to get legal jobs. And it's not just the pistachio farms that are hiring illegal immigrants, they're hiring legal immigrants. And for those people, again, that went through the process, there is a reason why President Trump was in near parity to Kamala Harris among Hispanic voters. He basically took the Hispanic vote from her almost entirely. We were at like a 48%, 50%. I mean, this was a historic margin that that the Republicans did. Why? President Trump didn't change his policies at all. He's been talking about enforcing immigration since 2013, since 2014. If you go back to his Twitter, you can see him talking about this. This is nothing new under the sun. And he has been more popular among immigrants, among legal immigrants, than any other president in history. We had the Arab vote in Dearborn, Michigan, flipped an entire district for President Trump. This is the only Arab majority county in the United States, and it flipped for President Trump. And then he went on huge increase among Black voters, huge increase among Hispanic voters and Asian voters. So this kind of rhetoric that, these people are going to suffer if we don't allow illegal immigrants. I'm sorry to say that actually the California citizens again suffered because Gavin Newsom gave our Medi-Cal benefits, which is our statewide health insurance, he gave that carte blanche to any illegal immigrant who came over. So he gave them free health care at the expense of the American and California taxpayer. And so these policies, again, are detrimental to legal immigrants who should be celebrated, who should be rewarded for going through the proper channels and proper process, and those tax-paying California citizens. So it's rhetoric. And it quite frankly is part of why there is this disruption and all these riots down in the city and in the sanctuary cities.
Perhaps it was the greatest irony of all the 2024 campaign that Detroit, Michigan, the surrounding area, many of those Democrat mayors in the Arab sections of the suburbs going for President Trump, endorsing him, saying that we don't agree on everything, but we know our family in the Middle East, regardless of where you are on the issue, will be safer under the peace through strength candidate. And I'm starting to think now myself that Governor Shapiro of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania actually might have distanced himself as he was being vetted for that VP slot, because I couldn't think of anything in the world as to why you would pick the Minnesota governor who just claims that he's somewhat of a goofball sometimes, even though he's admitted to lying on a regular basis.
Well, and was declaring that tampons should be in boys' bathrooms. That's why he got his nickname. And yes, people distance themselves from the Democrat Party because they are in an identity crisis. You saw likely today, John Kerry came out and said, "Oh, the Democrats' policies of the border had us, we're a border siege. Like, this is terrible. President Trump was right." Well, I'm sorry, John Kerry. You should have said that 4 years ago when Joe Biden was running against President Trump, and President Trump was saying to him at the time, if you do not secure our borders, it is going to be a national crisis. And here we are 4 or 5 years later in a crisis of deportation and illegal immigration that President Trump is having to fix. And at the cost and expense, again, of tax-paying citizens. There was a huge earmark in the One Big Beautiful Bill for this. So for deportation and for ICE. So all these flip-floppers, John Kerry being the chief flip-flopper, it's so tiring to hear them, because they could have done these policies 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and spoken out against Joe Biden, spoken out against Kamala Harris.
And the 50-state solution of positive populism seems to be some hope down the road for the golden state of California, once truly the greatest middle-class tax haven in the country. I mean, it's hard to believe that it once elected Richard Nixon and the great Ronald Reagan, of all people, with their conservative credit and receipts, with those two great leaders. But what's on the forefront now? 2026, we have a midterm coming up, with President Trump not at the top of the ballot, but MAGA still really pushing for this big tent solution to so many various problems, especially illegal immigration, as we've been touching on today. So it looks like you might have the former vice president jumping into Democratic ranks, and they seem to be a little bit nervous about that. How about on the Republican side? We have Steve Hilton, who is from the UK originally, but has immigrated to the United States, and he can't take it anymore. He's fighting back, and he's doing so articulately. How do you see this race going down? Is there really a chance for a Republican chief executive to take command in the Golden State?
Well, we should all be reminded of the fact that Kamala Harris won every single state that does not require voter ID. This is a problem that is symptomatic in New York City, where we have this radical Mondani going as the candidate for the Democrat Party. And now in California, we have these radical leftist mayors like Karen Bass, who actually ran against Rick Caruso, who is more of a moderate Democrat. And of course she won, but they're winning because there's no proof of citizenship requirement. There's no voter ID. President Trump came right out of the hatch outside of border patrol, border regulation, border security, and deportations. He also said we have to secure our elections. Now, he signed an executive order on this, on voter ID, proof of citizenship. Speaker Johnson has the SAVE Act in the House, and I think I sent it on to the Senate, and we're waiting on confirmation on that. But I will say this, and I will say it on repeat. We cannot win an election in California. We as Republicans, we as conservatives, common sense people cannot win an election in California until we have voter ID. That is the only thing that is going to make a difference in California's elections. And it cannot just be on a federal level, because the SAVE Act is protecting House seats, it's protecting federal Senate seats. But we have to have our own statewide ballot initiative. It's an 80-20 issue. If that issue gets on the ballot, we win. We win in California on voter ID. And once you have voter ID, you push back the ballot harvesting, you push back the fraud, you push back the illegal immigrants being able to vote, and you really secure the election. And this is something that has to be done nationwide, state by state. So as much as I get excited about certain candidates, Kamala Harris would actually be a gift for California, because people really have a strong distaste for her in her home state. And we cannot win unless we have voter ID, period, the end.
And it's a phenomenon that you have, to President Trump's point, that he was really highlighting this in the 2024 campaign, and rightfully so. He wins 31 states with voter ID, to your point, Katie, and 19 states without voter ID. Now we have Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Okay, they're very liberal, about 2 to 3 Democrat or blue. But even states like the Garden State of New Jersey, the Prairie State of Illinois, those numbers are pretty darn close towards late into the evening, early morning hours. And maybe if there was a form of voter ID, you'd have some more transparency. But this is something that really cuts across all ideological spectrums. The American people want free and fair elections. I think it's pretty simple.
Yes, and you're protecting it for American citizens. No other country in the world that takes their elections seriously doesn't require voter ID. The fact that the left has politicized this issue is ridiculous. This should be a bipartisan issue that you have to show an ID, proof of citizenship, in order to participate in our election. Think about how hard our founding fathers worked to have a free, fair country. And here we are 249 years later or 48 years later, deciding that people don't have to show that they live in this country to vote here, that they're citizens. The idea of that, the idea that the Democrats don't want this, only shows that they care about self-preservation. And the self-preservation is that New York is the exact example, and Stephen Miller has talked about this, that what happened in this election is really a symptom of the fact that there is unregulated migration. 1/3 of all adults that live in New York are foreign born. 2/3 of the kids that are living in households are foreign born in New York City. This has to be regulated. There has to be, you can be foreign born, but are you a registered citizen? In order to vote in our elections, you have to be. And that is how you secure it. And I think that's how you even beat Mandami.
Katie Zachariah, attorney and senior advisor to Fix California. She's a political strategist, one of the best in the entire land, our great United States of America. And President Trump, she's catching his eye. He's sharing a lot of her content on Truth Social. So check her out. And where can we find you, Katie, online? So in case people are scrubbing back with the live stream, I can find all of your great commentary that's out there in the World Wide Web.
On X, Katie Zachariah. On Instagram, Katie Zachariah. And LinkedIn, Katie Zachariah.
Always a joy to have you on the show, Katie Zachariah of the great Golden State of California. We'll see you very soon on the right side of history.
Thank you so much.
And as we dive deep on everything that is within the Trump White House, in the Beltway, outside of the Beltway, feel free to write in if you wish to opine. You can do that. Feedback at rsbn.tv. Feedback at rsbn.tv. We are here for you on a rainy day in Washington, D.C. As you can see there, almost looks like snowflakes. That makes me shiver thinking about even going back to a cold climate like that, even though it's the heat of the summer. I prefer that over the snow, and I hope you're enjoying your summertime as well. Thank you to our sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network's live desk, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Scan that QR code now. Buy one, get one free. Ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, mebendazole, among 200 essential medications, emergency medical kits, antibiotics that could literally save your life and have you prepared in the midst of a storm. And we've seen, sadly, the tragedy in the Lone Star State of Texas and what can happen when you don't have access to a pharmacy for whatever reason. It could be the insurance companies that are double dipping and owning that pharmacy, and Big Pharma that wants to prevent you from ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, mebendazole, or when they pressure your doctor and literally tie hands behind his back or her back and say, you can't prescribe this, or you're going to get a major write-up. It's happening in America. We've seen that since COVID. So buy one, get one free on all pharmaceuticals. No red tape, no insurance. Do not worry. No bureaucracy here. Just Michael Kunzler is the co-owner with his brother, making a difference with these great doctors, healthcare providers, nurses, pharmacists. Scroll back in the big, beautiful feedback of today. We interviewed him earlier in the hour. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN for the buy one, get one free sale, now going on through July 13th. And once you have your health in order, Great to check those savings, your retirement funds. Colonial Metals Group. Protect your IRA, your 401k with gold, 100% tax-free, and silver while you're at it. Because I'll let you in on a little secret here. Scan the QR code now. Go to freegoldguide.com/RSBN. You receive that free no obligation gold guide if you make any purchase with this extraordinary organization that's backed by U.S. Attorney Judge Jeanine Pirro, among many other patriots. You have a chance to stand at winning $7,500 of free silver on the house. Hey, $7,500 is good in paper money, but it's inflated. It's taxed. Silver doesn't change. In fact, it's gone up in value over all of these years. And let's be honest, the Chinese Communist Party, they want to launch an economic Pearl Harbor on the United States. We cannot let that happen. So go to Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguide.com/RSBN to receive your free 2025 gold guide. Protect your IRA or 401k with gold, 100% tax-free at Colonial Metals Group, and heed the warning of great financial experts like Warren Buffett. Colonial Metals Group, the best in the business, freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Thank you for your sponsorship on the right side of history, and we hope you've enjoyed this original content today, as on the big island of Hawaii, there's a volcano erupting right now. If memory serves me correctly, I was on a trip way back when, my senior year of high school, and we went biking around that very area. And it's quite a sight to see, to look into the pits of a volcano. And thank God we weren't up there with what's going on right now. But the volcanic islands of Hawaii, that's how they were founded. In fact, if you look at the geography of it, if you go down to the base, that's way, 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 way underneath those trenches, underneath the sea. These mountains, which they are, you're standing on top of mountains when you're on the Hawaiian Islands, taller than Mount Everest. So just can put a picture in your mind of the world that's almost underneath us in our oceans. It's mind-boggling, and something to really reflect upon on God's green earth and the amazing creation He has bestowed, all in our care and our stewardship, which He gave to us way back when, during the Genesis days. So something to think about as you look at that stunning photo of volcanic activity on the big island of Hawaii. A beautiful state. Be sure to visit. Also, a rainy day in Washington, D.C. I'm excited about the 1-month-old flagpoles on the north lawn and also the south lawn of the White House. Your house, the People's House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I was talking to a friend yesterday during Bible study, and we were really reflecting upon the fact that how great is this nation? Nearly 250 years later. That's why I like to wear my American flag belt. I almost wear it every single day. All the different flags that have made up this great country. And this pin, which means more to me than anything else. The American flag embodying the cross, the tool that executed our Lord and Savior. The Roman tool that was meant to intimidate. I've walked on the Appian Way to see those crosses lined up that were literally lit on fire with tar. Imagine suffering like that for your faith, and then to light the way for the Roman Empire before it became a Christian nation. There were Christians hanging from crosses and then set to fire to light the way. Can you just imagine that for a second, as that volcano is spewing that hot ash and the smoke at the moment? Really something to ponder, to be so fortunate to be born in such a time as this, 2025, to fight nearly 250 years later for those foundational principles of 1776, and to be involved in this government. And you showed that in a peaceful and patriotic way back on November 5th of 2024, and put Donald John Trump back into office as the 47th Commander-in-Chief, to say, no, we're not going to go down this route of imperial governance, of federal employees who should be working for you. You put them there. Bureaucrats who wanted to create this League of Shadows, this globalist deep state of neocons and neoliberals, Republicans and Democrats who are actually working together and against you, all while shaking babies and kissing hands. Fun little reference there. While also harming the American people. Not anymore, thanks to the government you put into place, but we are on the right side of history, and we'll dive into all that's happened this week that is disturbing at best, but also trying to find those missing pieces, those links that might bring it all together. And we pray every day for those in authority. We're called to do so. And we hope that not only liberty that's been preserved in constitutional governance over the course of the last several months, but that justice will come swiftly, will come radically, will go after those who were once in the seats of power who might have abused it to the extent of becoming criminals and carrying on criminal acts that harmed you, the American people. So we love, again, your feedback and the good, the bad, the ugly. And you can write in feedback at rsbn.tv. That's feedback at rsbn.tv. It's our job here at RSBN's live desk to cover everything inside and outside of the Beltway, the Trump White House, your 47th president, your 50th vice president, and the 119th Congress. We also have a special show tonight, The Voice of Reason, starring yours truly. We will be having some very fun interviews talking about public policy, also diving into the arts in moments to cover how, as a conservative photographer, really made his way in the Big Apple of New York City, and a couple of other policy wonks that dive deep into all of the news. This whole week has been a fast-breaking moment for countless people, and especially those lives that were changed in Texas. And our thoughts and prayers again with everyone in the Lone Star State. Tune in tomorrow for the live desk as we'll be traveling with President Trump. Well, staying here in Auburn, Alabama, of course, but covering all of his moves on the ground in the Lone Star State, just off of that Guadalupe River. That everyone's been through a lot this week. So at the very least, thoughts and prayers, please, for the great people of Texas. 31 million, some of the greatest Americans out there. And as the leadership has said, including Governor Greg Abbott of the Lone Star State, Texans have a way of coming together in tragedy. And Senator Ted Cruz speaking to that earlier this week as well. Camp Mystic, always in our thoughts and prayers, and the over 850 people who are saved. Thank you to the first responders, and we'll be covering them by name because they are heroes. So thank you for joining us on the right side of history today. 3 hours from now, The Voice of Reason at 6 o'clock Eastern. We'll see you tonight. Have a wonderful afternoon for all of my esteemed colleagues here at RSBN. I'm Robert McNeely. Have a great afternoon. God bless you.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.